Heel Heat.
What's up, Tru Heel Heat? Tru Heel Heat.
What's up? Tru Heel Heat.
Alright, ready when you are.
Hey guys, I may have go away heat, but these guys have Tru Heel Heat. So you better listen to the podcast or else I'm gonna kick you in your fucking cock and balls.
I'll get it. Hello everyone, it's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at Tru Heel Heat. Yeah!
I thought we were finally going to have a week in 2024 that wasn't full of news and, we can make it maybe like a 1 hour podcast. But no. New Japan Pro Wrestling on Thursday night said a whole big no to that, SP3. We're announcing that Kazuchika Okada is leaving the company. Who will sign him? The big players, WWE, AEW. Maybe TNA. He will be on Impact next week. And then Seth freaking Rollins has a torn meniscus, a torn MCL. Is he going to main event WrestleMania against CM Punk? We're going to discuss all of that. It's me and the Tru Draw Josh. We got some special guests coming in as well. It's Tru Heel Heat 260. Let's get to it. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SPE3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for Tru Heel Heat 260, Make It Rain, discussing the latest wrestling news, including the shocking news of Kazuchika Okada leaving NJPW, being announced, and where he may go. What does it mean for New Japan Pro Wrestling? Seth freaking Rollins suffering an injury that may make him miss WrestleMania 40. A recap of this weekend wrestling with NJPW Battle in the Valley featuring Jack Perry's shocking arrival. New beginning in Nagoya was this morning. You had AEW Dynamite featuring Samoa Joe versus Hook. Rampage versus Collision, Battle of the Belts 9, ROH TV on Honor Club, WWE SmackDown Raw, NXT, and me and Josh's matches of the week. And yes, that means I am joined by Mr. Clutch himself, the sixth man of the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast, even though he might as well be a starter because he's here as much as the other starters. He is the Tru Draw Josh.
Yeah, I should be, but I don't want to be one of those. Say, hey, I'm full time, and then always got other shit to do on Saturdays. So, I mean, whenever I could fill in, I'll fill in no matter what.
We're gonna have like a full system impact by the end of the year where I'm never alone. Where I'm always it's either gonna be you, Miss Chrissy Love, Top Guy JJ, Sat E. I was talking to Sat this week. We're gonna have him a little bit more on the Flagship podcast because he had his final week doing the Saturday morning news over on Wrestle Talk and doing the podcast over there. So he has a couple more Saturdays free, and he said he's Tru Heel Heat for life. So we're gonna have a system impact for the Flagship where it's either Josh, Chrissy, Top Guy, or Sat. There we go. Put it into the air. Put it into fruition. But yes, welcome everyone to our Flagship podcast, the Saturday morning cookout. We are here every Saturday, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time, talking about the entire week of professional wrestling. If you want to know anything that happened in professional wrestling, whether it be a show, whether it be news, this is a comprehensive podcast that covers it all. So you can join us every Saturday or you can watch us on demand. We appreciate you either way. Show that appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, if you're with us live, sound off in the live chat. If you're watching us on demand, sound off in the comments down below. If you're watching us on Facebook, drop a heart, a like, an angry emoji, a laugh emoji. However, this week in wrestling made you feel, you could do it with those emotes over on Facebook, but you could also sound off in the live chat with everybody watching over on YouTube, over on Twitter. Sound off in the live chat. We'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, the most important thing we do here on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel with these streams, or what you can do for us, is send those super chat donations. If you have a little bit that you can give back to us, we always appreciate it. We always give your super chat some time. If you have a question, you have a statement, we will make sure it's read out and we will give you our thoughts on your comment as well. Those are also important. We're a self-funded channel here, so every little bit counts and it goes back to the contributors you see on screen. Or as Jimmy Macaram said, we're broke, nigga. We're broke. Please, thank you. But yes, we got a couple of people in the chat. Armand, who says, what's up? We got Nikki Boy, who says, good morning, my good brothers. We got Eric Isaac in the chat saying, hey, guys. We also got Nikki Boy, who says, TK really said to Gato, trade offer. I receive Okada, Ospreay, Shibata, and Jay White. You receive Jack Perry. Seems legit. Seems legit. Same. I mean, that's a fair trade-off, right, Josh?
Oh, it's very fair. I'll take that any day.
Very fair. You know, Jack Perry's got all the Hollywood connections. So yeah. Nikki Boy also saying that. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Tru Heel Heat Sports. Yes, be doing that because it is NFL playoff weekend. Romeo's going to be live with the gang over on Tru Heel Heat Sports. You can subscribe over there for our watch-alongs. And like I said a few weeks ago, I'll say it here on the flagship, our Super Bowl watch-along is going to be very important over on Tru Heel Heat Sports. We're going to have a big announcement about the channel and what we're going to be doing with the channel throughout 2024 and beyond. So be sure to tune in to our Super Bowl watch-along as well as all of our watch-alongs for the NFL playoffs. But we're highlighting your comments. We got to shout y'all out to start off the show. The Tru Heel Roll Call is how we start off every edition of our flagship podcast. Shouting out those supporting us on social media here on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and Patreon. Our top 3 conversation starters on our Tru Heel group page on Facebook. We got Stewie Palmer at number 3, Joe Bellini at number 2, and Reno Red, number 1 for the first time. Congratulations, Reno Red. We got Patreon backers, Vela B, Alan Weinstein, Nick Jackson, Alex McCarthy, Professor Chris, Austin K, Robert, Steve, Fifth Generation Carney, Ladarius, John, aka WrestleScopes, Dan, Kobe, Dolores, John Martin, DJ Eric, Marcus Ryan, James, Alan, Santo, Queen Monet, Christopher and Victoria Kid, and Nick Tim. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content plus a Tru Heel Heat prediction championship. And you will always be read out and get that shout out at the top of every flagship podcast. But let's get into what we missed, Josh. And We got a lot on tap for what we missed. There's been a whole bunch of shows. We did a lot of the previews last week. So let's get into one of the shows we previewed last week, which was NJPW Battle in the Valley. I think this is now twice in 3 weeks of this year. We're starting off with New Japan, which is quite impressive on my part. A New Japan mark dictating the flow of the show. But yes, Battle in the Valley featured the main event, which had Kazuchika Okada defeating Will Ospreay in an excellent main event matchup that was rated 5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. It was 4 3/4 stars by me, but I have the right ratings. Dave over embellishes. Post-match, Okada cried before both men hugged in an emotional moment that we did not know how emotional it really was. We thought it was emotional because of Ospreay and Okada's relationship, this being one of Ospreay's last big events for New Japan and their final big matchup against each other in NJPW, but it became more significant as the days went on. However, Bullet Club War Dogs came down to attack both men until United Empire and Eddie Kingston came down to make the save. Speaking of Eddie Kingston, the Mad King and Gade Kid went to a double countout in a hard-hitting wild brawl for the AEW Continental Championship. Post-match, the Bullet Club War Dogs jumped Eddie Kingston. Shoto Amino, Fred Rosser, and Jacob Fatu, who was a highlight on this show, beat Team Filthy in a decent little opening trios tag. But post-match, the big newsworthy moment of the show happened as AEW's own Jack Perry attacked Shooter and then ripped up his AEW contract in the middle of the ring before putting on an armband that read Scapegoat. And he is being called the Scapegoat in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We had other title matches as Julia beat Trisha Dora in a damn good bout to retain the NJPW Strong Women's Championship. Meanwhile, Matt Riddle reunited with Jeff Cobb of the Chosen Bros to defeat TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr., and Bad Dude Tito in a very good tag team matchup. Speaking of debuts, you have Matt Riddle debuting on the show, but via video, Mustafa Ali made his debut, challenging former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Hiromu Takahashi for April 12th at Windy City Riot. Speaking of that event, we had the 5-star match that was 5 stars to me and Dave. Jon Moxley defeating Shingo Takagi in an outstanding, violent, bloody, no disqualification war. Like I said, Dave Meltzer rating it 5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Post-match, Moxley challenged Tetsuya Naito for Windy City Riot as well. So we're getting Naito versus Moxley. He said he's waited 4 years for this matchup, and he's taking it on April 12th. What did you think about this show overall? But what about the big matches, the Ospreay, Okada, Moxley, Shingo, and then the big setup of the 2 big matches for Windy City Riot of Hiromu and Ali, as well as Mox versus Naito?
I thought it was a great show. It was real. I really enjoyed it. A lot of great matches, a lot of great angles. The Jack Perry thing, it was surprising just because that's just the place I didn't expect him to show up. And just the whole play to it with the whole contract and then, the whole scapegoat thing. They're doing a fine job when it comes to not blurring the lines, because this was one of the things that we did kind of talk about. It was like, if they bring him back, like, how are they going to do this? Because what happened was a major incident. You can't ignore that. You can't bring him in a situation where you kind of just like act like nothing happened. It happened, and now they have to find a way to either use it or, it's also going to be interesting how he portrays it, just because, with CM Punk being in WWE, he hasn't mentioned AEW in any capacity.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how Jack plays off of that. It's either he's not going to give a fuck that he's going to mention it, or he's going to find a way just not to. Like, he's going to like bring him up as in like not mention him by name, talk about the incident, and that's it. But I mean, there's a few interesting things you could do with that. No, but overall, it was a good show. A lot of matches I enjoyed. You know, the Osprey and Okada stuff, I thought was more for like Osprey, but now in hindsight, it's like probably means more now just because of the news we got. But I mean, yeah, overall, it was a good show.
Yeah, I thought the Okada and Osprey was a fantastic matchup. I don't think it was a perfect match, but I did think Shingo and Mox, that blew me away. Like, I thought that would be great, but that was
I thought that was a better match.
That was absolutely outstanding. That was one of the best matches of the year so far. It's that, the Bryan Okada matchup from Wrestle Kingdom, and one other match this week that I think is in that conversation with those two matches, which we'll get to a little bit later. We got Nikki Boy, who says that hug hits more knowing that Okada is leaving. We got I'm gonna butcher this. You want to give it a try? You want to give a try at this name?
No.
Betta, the actor, Bessa, the actor. I'm gonna call you TT the actor. I'm sorry. TT the actor says Jack Perry in the New Japan Cup this year. I actually wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind Jack Perry winning the New Japan Cup.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's chaos, man. We got Bala B in the chat who says this was a quote from a Japanese fan on Twitter about Okada. He said, NJPW and his fans do not wish to bind talented individuals with low wages due to a weakened yen in a country where the GDP is falling below 4th place. That's insightful. I mean, that's a different perspective that we don't always hear. And if you know any Japanese fans, Vala B, tell them to come on board. We got Google Translate. They can put their translation, put in Google Translate, put in the comments, and we'll highlight them as well. We do have a super chat donation from, of course, our good brother, Will Chisholm. Thank you so much, Will Chisholm. Honestly, Will, it's not only just us. You support so many YouTube channels. Like, I've seen you over in Fightful. I know you've been across different YouTube channels. You are supporting wrestling YouTube unlike anyone else that I see in these communities. So I wanted to give you that kind of like praise, sir. Like, we got to do something special for you. We are planning to do that because you have given so much to us. We appreciate it, man. Will says, gotta ask, how can NJPW and AEW work together if AEW gets their top talent? I know it's the wrestling game, but Tony is doing what people saying WWE may do if they work with somebody. Tony just slick about it. To be fair, the only thing I would correct about your statement, Will, is you said people saying WWE may do. No. People are not saying WWE may do. This is what WWE has done. Like what Tony is doing. It's like a microcosm of what WWE has done with every single partner or promotion that has ever worked with them. So don't say, oh, what people are saying or what WWE may do. They not may do. They gonna do that with anybody they work with. That's how it works. The bigger promotion, we've seen it, and we're seeing it, firsthand with AEW. The bigger promotion, the promotion that can pay the more money, 9 times out of 10, the best talent, if you're working with 2 different promotions, the best talent is going to go lean with the promotion that they're making the most money with, especially when they make a relationship with them. We don't know for sure if Okada is going to AEW, so we can't even say for sure it's as bad as people are describing it, as if, it's already a done deal. It's not a done deal, and we're going to get into that, but I wouldn't say that this is like, oh, Tony's slick about it. No, Tony is just reading from a book of WWE's history and just learning from it. He is literally copying what WWE is doing. He's not slick about it. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but then also he's not doing it like in a backstabbing-ish way. Like that's not what he wants to do. And he hasn't done that. When he signed Osprey, New Japan gave him their blessings, and they're like, all right.
And they leaned Osprey towards
yeah. So it's like even in the comparison of things, it's a lot different. The best way I could describe it too with WWE is look at the UK scene. The UK scene, they didn't have a major promotion. They had like these big independent promotions, And once WWE started looking into the UK market, that's basically what they did to Progress. Progress had like a lot of talent, and they took them. They took their talent.
Fleeced them, and Evolve at the same time.
Exactly.
Evolve was already. It was kind of like the New York, like one of the more popular. Like before East GCW got really popular in New York, because they couldn't be in New York too much because of death matches and the New York Athletic Commission. The most popular independent was either HOG or Evolve.
And I would,
like
and I would lean
like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and I would lean more towards Evolve just because they were getting those big names, like they were getting like those big WWE names.
Like, that's where I discovered Darby, Austin Theory, Orange Cassidy, like
Gargano.
I discovered them all from Evolve. Ricochet, like all from Evolve, and they got into a relationship. Remember, WWE put Evolve out to fuck with AEW when they did Fight for the Fall in 2019. Remember, they did the Evolve special on WWE Network the same night? They were fucking with them, using the whole relationship to fuck with AEW, and then at least Evolve, and a year and a half later, especially after the pandemic, they were done.
Yep. So it's like, we can say what we want to say, but I was like, Barry's done it. I'm not saying it's wrong either. It's just, it's business at the end of the day.
say TT the actor, you're a real one. You're a real one. He says, no problem. SP is not easy to pronounce some South African names. It's not. Especially it's like 11 a.m. this morning. I woke up at like 5. Man, it's too early for that. But yes, keep coming with those comments. Keep coming with those super chat donations as well. They did have a show this morning for New Japan Pro Wrestling that I did want to go through very quickly here. It was New Beginning in Nagoya, which featured a big matchup in the main event as Evil defeated Tama Tonga to become the new never open weight champion. And of course, this is Tama Tonga's final big singles match in NJPW. So post-match, he cut a promo and cried, getting emotional about the moment before saying goodbye to the fans. You also had the GOD, the Gorillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo and Hikuleo beat Kenta and Chase Owens to retain the IWGP and NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team titles. And finally, you had the Great Okan defeat Taiji Ishimori in a ridiculous, kind of silly, but still fun muscle training matchup, which was a 10-minute time limit where they had individual intervals of 30 seconds where they had to do lunges. I kid you not. That was the stipulation. Muscle training match. And the Great Okan, because the rule of the matchup was the person who had possession of the title at the end of the 10 minutes won the match. Great Okan fell on top of the title and had his hand on the title, so he won the match. Yes, this literally happened, and I watched it this morning, and I won't get that time. But yes, that was New Beginning in Nagoya this morning. But I know what you guys came for. I know you guys want to talk about. You guys are already talking about it in the live chat. You guys sending super chats talking about it. So let's get to it. We touched on it briefly yesterday, Josh, on our New Beginning in Nagoya preview, but let's get into the nitty-gritty right now about Kazuchika Okada officially departing NJPW as the company announced on Thursday. New Japan Pro Wrestling issued a statement on Thursday stating that Okada will exit after his contract expires at the end of the month. Okada will finish up with his final dates in February to honor his commitments. The full announcement reads, Kazuchika Okada to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling. Thank you for supporting New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kazuchika Okada will be leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling after the conclusion of his contract on January 31st, 2024. We apologize to fans for the rough nature of this announcement, but join them in wishing Okada the very best in his future. As the New Beginning series begins this weekend, Okada will appear on February dates on February 11th in Osaka and February 23rd and 24th in Sapporo. Changes will be made to forthcoming cards with an announcement to follow. We appreciate your understanding and continued support. Kazuchika Okada's statement said, I have nothing but gratitude for having been a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling since 2007. And for NJPW bringing me in as a 19-year-old kid off the plane in Mexico to the rainmaker I am today. Thank you to the best of companies in NJPW, to the best of opponents that I've been able to face here, and to the best of fans that have cheered and booed over the years. I promise to make it rain in every match I have left, so keep watching. Dave Meltzer on Twitter did mention, following the announcement that Okada let New Japan know his notice that he would not be re-signing with the company on Thursday night prior to the announcement being made. A new report had more details on Okada's exit from NJPW as well as interest in him from other companies. Fightful Select reports that sources in the company had heard recently that Okada had a meeting with NJPW officials about their future, and that it was cleared by the end of said meeting that Okada would be finishing up with the company. That said, several people in the company were surprised that it was announced now, as they expected such to happen next week. The exit is said to be an amicable one, and the door will likely always be open for him. NJPW sources said they knew it was a reality that would potentially be facing and are confident in their ability to create new stars both in Japan and the US. As far as Okada and where he will go, boy, oh boy, he got to make some money. As far as where Okada may be going, the report notes that AEW and WWE are both interested, though WWE sources had not heard of any talks between the two sides. They expected that it would at least be explored, but weren't sure if he would want to make the move over. Okada would not be able to work the Royal Rumble unless he received permission from New Japan. AEW was very hopeful that they'd be able to sign Okada, and ideas had been discussed, but as of such, it is too early to determine where he will actually end up. Okada mended fences with TNA over last weekend, and the experience was said to be a positive one by many in the company, so that's good news for them. They were looking to spend 7 figures on CM Punk or Will Ospreay, so maybe they make an offer to Okada. And then you had the report from the Sports Illustrated, who reported that AEW is the current favorite to sign Kazuchika Okada at this moment. The reasoning for this is Okada's pre-existing relationship with AEW CEO Tony Khan, and his recent visit to Dynamite in October of last year was, for all intents and purposes, an opportunity to see how the company operated a live TV taping. The report notes that Okada has also struck up a relationship and friendship with on-screen rival and NJPW Wrestle Kingdom 18 opponent Bryan Danielson, who has gained his trust. Danielson holds a significant amount of backstage influence within All Elite Wrestling, notably heading up their disciplinary committee following CM Punk's AEW All-In incident with Jack Perry. And the report also notes that Okada has remained close to AEW EVPs Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks of the Elite as well. And also worth noting, Okada has not signed a contract with AEW or any company at this time. It's now the real bidding war of 2024. So no more fire. We got to talk about money now. And to talk about money, we got to bring in a money man. A man that knows about making it rain, because he makes it rain on the stage as the greatest stage host in wrestling history. He is the greatest Scotsman since Drew McIntyre's new character. Not Drew McIntyre before, his new character. Kenny is the best since Drew. He is the man over at Inside the Ropes. He is Kenny McIntyre.
What an introduction. How do I follow
Much
that?
Better, right? Much better.
Much
than last
better.
time.
Much better. The best stage host of all time. I'll take it. Yeah, I wish the money rained as much as you were saying it does, but there's like a little bit, there's like a slither of rain that's money, just like $1 bills, like 10 of them, and I can't. Yeah.
Hey, come on, you catch them all. How you feeling, Kenny?
I'm good. I'm excited about the year ahead. There's lots of stuff happening in wrestling. I'm hoping Seth Rollins is not going to be at WrestleMania, which, you know,
Wait! You're hoping he's not? What are you?
No. What I said was I'm hoping he is not out of WrestleMania.
Oh.
I didn't say I hope he's out of WrestleMania.
I heard you wrong. I'm sorry. I was like, what?
I'm just diving straight in. Fuck Seth Rollins.
I was like, you learned from Seth. This is all Seth's fault.
But no, I mean, yeah, no, it's good. We're bringing Trish Stratus over here to the UK in March, so I'm excited about that. You know, she was a poster for a lot of young boys. Not me, but you know, a lot of young boys had her on their wall for whatever reason.
I did.
Say no more.
I
had Sable, but mainly because I thought she was fabulous. So you know, nothing else. But yeah, I'm good.
We are glad to have you on. Glad to talk about this with you because I saw your tweet on yesterday morning. I had the big reaction as I'm watching TNA Impact and New Japan drops this news, and I know you wake up Friday morning and probably caught the news yourself, and you were kind of saying that you would prefer Okada signing with WWE. So please tell the people watching, explain why.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is only for me and the type of wrestling fan I am and what I enjoy. So I'm going to try and not make this a really long-winded answer, but it's going to be a long-winded answer. So the thing with Okada, right? So he was in New Japan for years. He's a legendary figure, right? If he goes to AEW, he will have great wrestling matches. There's no doubt about it. He will continue to have great wrestling matches. For me, the quality of a wrestling match is like one part of like 5 different things that makes me really enjoy wrestling. And I think for a lot of people, AEW don't do great on the other 4 things. You know, if you look at the way Okada was introduced in the lead up to the first Forbidden Door, he came out on Dynamite looking like a student who was going to class. He wasn't even like they weren't like, you know, here's this like god in Japan, and like if you didn't know who he was, he didn't feel that special. I feel like if you were to poll 10 people and go, what was the match he had at Forbidden Door, the 4-way? You'd have to think, who was in the 4-way? I know Adam Cole was in it. Like, it wasn't memorable. And for me, it's like, I've been trying to think all day of an analogy, and I don't think I've got a great one, but I'm going to try. To me, it's like a wrestling match is like a great steak, right? Like eating a great steak. And for me, the surroundings of that great steak are just as important. You know, the restaurant that you're in, the vibe that you're having. If it's just a great wrestling match, it could be if there's nothing else going on, it's like eating a steak on a toilet in a train station. It's not as great as having it in a restaurant with your friends. You're having the good times. And I feel like with Okada going to AEW, I'm not confident that they are going to book him in any interesting stories at all. I think it's just going to be, here's this guy who is going to have these great matches once every couple of months. And like AEW has so many good matches, but the good matches to me anyway don't mean as much unless there's good story behind it. And that's my fear. And I think if he goes to WWE, especially with Triple H in charge now, I think he will get a good shot at it. And I think they'll make more of an attempt to put him in stories, which is why I'd prefer him to go there.
That is fair. I think you explained it very well. I'm not sure about the analogy, but the explanation was elegant.
I can't think of a good analogy. It's so irritating. But I know what I mean, but nobody else knows what I mean. But you know, can I just say, one of the things that's been really getting on my tits the last 24 hours, like, so when I put that tweet out, the comparison that all these people, that a lot of people have made to me, and I just think it's such a dumb comparison, is, have you ever heard of a guy called Nakamura? Yeah, the guy who was rubbish for years in WWE? Yes, I've heard of him. Like, that's not any, like, with Nakamura, you know, he turns up in so, shocker, I'm not a big indie fan or New Japan fan, so I've not seen a lot of stuff out with WWE or AEW, right?
Yeah.
And I'd seen like 2 of Nakamura's Wrestle Kingdom matches, the AJ Styles one, and I think it was a Tanahashi one, but I could be wrong. But I'd seen 2, and I thought he was great. So I was there live in Dallas when he fought Sami Zayn. Excellent match, so good. Yeah. And then he's in NXT for a while. He goes in the main roster. He has the Jinder Mahal feud. Of course, that was crap, right?
Dead.
Nobody's
dead. Yeah, I did you missed that last week. I did a whole rant about how he killed them dead.
Yeah,
dead.
But to be fair, I'm not defending WWE's booking or Vince's booking of Nakamura, but he won the Rumble in 2018, and it was like things are going to change. But then the series of matches he had with AJ Styles starting WrestleMania 34 were bad. They weren't good. and he's just kind of been there since, and he's not really that exciting a performer. So the idea of like comparing Okada going to WWE today, where like there's like 20 over stars, like, and Triple H is running it rather than Vince, to compare it to a Vince ran WWE when Jinder Mahal was the world champion, I just think is a kind of moot comparison to make. Like, if your thing is you don't want to see Okada in WWE because you don't like WWE, that's fine. But say that. Don't lace it up as some sort of like you're this visionary that, you know, Nakamura's being held. Nakamura moved to another country because he likes surfing and he has an easy schedule. And that good. Go for it. Yeah. More power to you.
I will say the other end of the spectrum, WWE fans don't use Nakamura's last 3 months as an example of why Okada should sign with WWE.
Yes.
Because him being presented better, how he should have been presented from the beginning, and still losing every freaking match is not good. It's not as good as you think it is. 100%. It's just better than what he was doing. That's all.
Yes, I agree. But I mean, the thing is with AEW, I'm under no illusion he's going to have great matches in AEW. But like, as you know, because you want him to go to AEW, right? So just like, I'm curious.
I want him to go wherever he's going to make the bag because I'm a huge Okada fan. I think he's going to go to AEW, and I think there's reasons why, and I'm going to get into that. But honestly, if he goes to WWE, I'm going to be happy because I watch everything, so I won't go wrong with me.
But I mean, I guess my what I'm curious about is because obviously I'm a type of wrestling fan who wrestling matches are like 1 in 5 things, like I say, that I enjoy. But I mean, I guess if you do just like great wrestling, then you would want him to go to AEW because you don't really care about storylines. You just want good wrestling. That's all you want. So I guess it's going to come down to what kind of fan you are as to what you want to see.
Yeah, I think that's what it's really going to come down to, and what's your understanding of who Okada is. I think that if you're a WWE fan, they do presentation and pomp and circumstance better than anyone, and that kind of fits with the aura, with the star power of Kazuchika Okada. So I totally understand. And then you have the part of the Sports Illustrated report I didn't read, which was the WWE part of they know that Okada has always wanted to work at WrestleMania. So if he's always wanted to work at WrestleMania, Triple H believes he has the right opponents for him in AJ Styles or Finn Balor. And when I read that, I was like, 2 guys you haven't been building up at all. Okay, cool. I was like, okay, yeah, there'll be guys that can lose to Okada at WrestleMania. That's cool. I mean, AJ and him will have a great matchup. I'm sorry, Finn Balor. They killed Finn Balor dead for me in that Seth Rollins feud when he couldn't pick up a briefcase. But I mean, I'll dig with him in the Judgment Day. If he's in the group of the Judgment Day, that's fine. But him by himself, I'm sorry, I don't believe him anymore.
And is an AJ Styles match in 2024 really that interesting? Like,
not even like that. That's the whole thing. Like, I think that you like that's why I wanted you on, because you've explained very well of why you should want Okada in WWE. You didn't say, "Oh, Okada needs to get his wins back against Bronson Reed and Shinsuke Nakamura." That is not a good reason. Like 2 mid-carders versus Okada. No, that's not a good reason for him to go to WWE. No. Josh, I know you would call yourself more of an AEW fan. So do you want Okada to go to AEW, and explain why you think that would be good for Okada?
I mean, would I want him to go to AEW? Yeah, of course. He's familiar with them. I think you could still do a lot of great things, even with certain guys you can still work with. Like every time him and Ospreay go out there, they always have a banger. You could even go back to Omega and Okada. Like, that's something they haven't even touched in years. But it's more so with him being familiar with them. And I feel because AEW targets the hardcore fan base, I think that's why it will be better, because we're already familiar with him. When he goes to WWE, they'll present him well. They will present him as a big signing. Similar to what they've done with Jade, but then at the same time, Jade hasn't been on TV ever since. Like, they signed her last month and nothing has come about. They signed CM Punk, and he's had 1 match that was on the house show. So the presentation will be there. It's just a matter of how they'll use them. I know Brian Alvarez said something about like, oh, this ain't the Fed from before. They'll push him like a big, like they'll make him a mega star. I don't know if I have that much confidence that they'll make him a mega star just because they already have so many people in line already. And that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, all right, you're going to make him a big star, but as in what? Because we know what they could do presentation wise, but then even not only just match quality, but just like how they're going to use him in his run. Like what's going to be the end goal when it comes to that with WWE.
Kenny said something interesting about like Okada doing on AEW like matches like every 2 months. That's kind of what I want. I want him to be used like the Brock Lesnar of AEW, like the final boss. Like he only comes around. It's a special occasion, a special attraction for AEW, especially because one of the reasons why I think he is going to sign with AEW, and I think he should, is because he wants to stay local to Japan because his wife is one of the biggest national stars in Japan. Like she's a bigger star in Japan than Okada is. If you think Okada's big, wrestling is a niche thing. She is a big like time singer and TV host. She's done all these things and like that. Like there's people in Japan that are depressed not because Okada's leaving, because of the possibility that Okada may move to the US and take his wife with him. That's how big she is. It's like that. Like that's what I'm trying to quantify. She's like a huge TV host star out there, and Japanese fans are like depressed about that. So I think that using him as kind of like the final boss, the Brock Lesnar of AEW, will be well. And I do think that there are a lot of stories because one thing that Tony Khan has done well and a lot better than WWE ever done is taking other people's stories and just going with it and just go. I'm gonna just tell that story. I mean, I'm just gonna take your New Japan story. Oh, Omega and Okada, they're longtime rivals. All this story, I got the video package. I'm a partner with them. I can show this all information. I'll just develop that story. That's a big.
But don't you think sometimes like when you're watching AEW, it's like you had to do homework before you watch the show to know the story that like has already happened. Like it's not like because if something's happened in New Japan, right, that maybe Excalibur mentions in passing on commentary, like that. I'm not watching New Japan. I'm watching AEW. So like, at least like catch me up. Like, I know what you're saying. I'll play the video. They don't always play the video stuff. Like
that's true.
And to me, it's like, and you're right. The hardcore fan is who AEW are trying to get right. That is kind of their go-to. Omega came up there as an example, and like I was so pumped when AEW started to see Omega, like, and really see. And I feel like if you look at the last 2 years, take out the all-out brawl thing, like. Omega just feels like, apart from the Ospreay match at Forbidden Door, grant me that was amazing. Like, I feel like he's been so fumbled as a character. Like,
the last 6 months of 2023, you will not hear any argument from me. They fumbled with Kenny Omega because this guy, every time he was out there, he was spectacular. You mentioned the Ospreay match. What about the Vikingo match? That's still the best Vikingos ever looked. Ever. Like that made Vikingo a star in one night last year, and like. They did nothing after the Ospreay matchup. He got stuck in the Jericho Don Callis vortex, which is one of the worst things about AEW. It's taken over for the Codyverse as the worst thing about AEW.
I do think though, the WWE thing you mentioned about him moving from Japan or whatever. I do feel like, and I'm not saying this is like a WWE goggles on that I can't see the real world type situation, but I do think Okada is a big enough name that if he was to. I think he could strike a deal with WWE where he doesn't have to move to the States, where he does like a more limited schedule because they are going to want him. It's a new regime. I think things have changed enough. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to be a case of you have to do 200 days a year or we're not doing this. I think there's more scope.
But like that's the whole thing, because I think that there's like also caveats that not a lot of people are talking about with either of these ties signing. Because I said it yesterday on our NJPW New Beginning in Nagoya preview. Want to specify this: neither WWE nor AEW need Okada. That's the thing. Neither one of them need Okada. So there's always going to be a caveat if you sign Okada. And like signing him and giving him what he wants of staying in Japan if you're a WWE, what type of precedent does that set for the other people you have to negotiate with for the rest of 2024? When you have a litany of guys from your Kevin Owens, your Sami Zayns, all these guys are going to become free agents. What kind of precedent does that set of, okay, you can have what you want? Yeah, that's what Tony Khan does, but we saw the backlash of that with CM Punk. So if you're just letting them come in and you're letting CM Punk come back and he's going to win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania, if I'm Drew McIntyre, I'm looking in the mirror like, oh, fuck me then. Okay, fuck me. Like he was like, I wanted to be home during the pandemic. I could have saw my mom before she passed. Oh, but fuck me. Okada can stay in Japan. Okay. Like, I'm just saying, you have to think about that caveat. And then with AEW, the extra caveat with them is that they don't need Okada, and this is really gonna put a bad perception on this whole New Japan partnership because we already had the super chat earlier in the show. You're looking very WWE-ish with the fact that in the past 12 months, you've signed Jay White, Will Ospreay, and then Kazuchika Okada. You flexed them of their entire main event scene outside of Tanahashi and Naito, who are on broken down bodies.
But can I give you, like, I'm glad you brought Jay White up there. And again, I like AEW as well as WWE. I'm not saying I'm one or the other. And I also think he's going to go to AEW. So this whole conversation, I think, is probably redundant, but why not? We're here. Yeah. But I think that's where he's going to go. But look at Jay White, right? Jay White is someone who I'd always heard is like Mr. Charisma. I'm not necessarily saying I would call him that, but I was warming to him in AEW, right? I thought the Bullet Club Gold stuff was fun. Who knew that putting Billy Gunn's kids with him would actually be really good? And it was.
And it helped them a lot.
Yeah. So they're building him, right? But to me, what they did was they fed him to MJF way too soon. And then he is in that main event of Full Gear, and he couldn't beat the guy with one leg who like had been taken out early in the show after a half-hour match. So he's no longer a serious top guy anymore. He's now like, I mean, the kiss of death is if you're one of the ROH six-man tag team champions. So that's that's not a great sign for you. But like,
no. It's not going. I thought that we were doing well of getting him back with the Continental Classic, and then especially the win over Jon Moxley. And I thought that win would parlay into them feuding after the tournament. But no, he's feuding with the Acclaim, who feel very stale right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're Okada, I think the thing is going to come down to one of two things. What does he want more? Does he want to have more great matches? If he does, it's AEW. If he wants to be a bigger star, he'll probably go to WWE. Like, that's the kind of basic.
I think you could be a bigger star in WWE than you can in AEW, but I think you can be a bigger star in AEW than you were in New Japan, though.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, what I'm saying is, like, what's his goal? Is his goal to be the biggest star possible, or is his goal to have the greatest matches? I mean, obviously the Japan stuff is going to be a big factor to what does he want to do. Like, maybe him and his wife have decided, fuck it, let's move to America. Maybe they've had, we don't know, but that's going to be a big part of it. But I mean, there's something I was thinking about the other day. I was, for Inside the Ropes, we do these yearbooks, which are fucking tedious to put together, but we have to like put together all the results of the year and all the stuff. And it's like you start, you write Sky Blue down 100 times because you had the most matches and you want to tear your hair out. But we were putting it through.
Sky Blue Regiment, man. They put Queen Aminata on it. They put Anna Jay on it. It's the regiment.
But like one guy, I'll give an example guy, right? Who in AEW I want to see more from is Rush, right? Rush is this guy. He was in the Continental Classic. He had a fairly decent showing, but like he's just kind of there. And there's a lot of guys in AEW who are kind of they're kind of in the mid card, but you want to see them go higher, and nothing's really happening. And I think if Okada came in, guys like Rush are going to probably, there's no chance for them at that point. But similarly in WWE, if Okada comes into WWE, maybe Drew at that point's like, fuck it, like I need to. Also on the Drew thing, I think Drew should leave for 3 months. That's what I think he should do. Not only to do a tour with me in the UK, obviously, but
this guy's selfish.
I'm just being honest, right? But also, if you're Drew, and this is an open question, what could Drew do? Say Seth is healthy and nothing changes with that. What realistically can Drew do on WrestleMania this year that's big enough that he's going to be able to keep the momentum going that he's got? Is there anything?
I think what the plan is before the Seth injury, I think the reason that they had Sammy get off of television, he's going to come back to feud with Drew at WrestleMania.
So like, if that's where it's going, take 3 months off. Don't go to AEW yet. Like, field the offers. See what you can do.
Do what Ali's doing. Do what
Yeah.
Nemeth's doing. They feel so much hotter than they did 6 months ago.
And they were like cold, wet rain.
Yes.
Right? Whereas Drew's actually like Drew is hot right now. So like, if he was to leave and he's hot leaving, like, imagine what he could do if he, turned up somewhere. Turn up in Japan, do a one shot or whatever. Yeah, I think that's what he would do. But the Okada thing's interesting. I never thought we'd be sitting here at the beginning of 2024 having this discussion.
No, we literally, I think it was 6 weeks, 6 Tru Heel Heats. Tru Heel Heat 254 was when the announcement happened, the first news that Okada was going to be a free agent. And like after that, like we went a full month without it being mentioned, and we thought it was all good after we heard the report that Tanahashi got appointed because Abari didn't have a good relationship with Okada, and then this news drops. But since we're giving you a little bit of outline about what's going on with New Japan, I want to bring in someone who is a New Japan fan and can kind of give a perspective from that point of view. We heard what would happen, the perspective of why we want Okada in WWE, why we want Okada in AEW, but what is the world for a New Japan fan without Okada? He is also an AEW fan. He watches some WWE. He watches all of wrestling. He's Mr. Joshi Wrestling. He is Scott E. Wrestling. What's going on, sir?
Hello, Gato's cooked. That's what I came to say. the problem
should have done the work the last 12 months.
12 months? A couple of years. Yeah, you had COVID to work through. You could have just made new stars then. It's not like it mattered.
You had to give Evil a title run,
Oh, of course. I used to like to make Evil jokes and House of Torture jokes. I'm done doing that now. I'm pissed. I'm angry. But hello.
Yes, welcome, Scott. You have joined us for the money talk, for the Make It Rain talk about Kazuchika Okada. Gotta tell us what was your kind of reaction to the news. Where do you think he's gonna go, and what do you think NJPW should do in response?
My reaction to the news was like complete shock because you said it right before I came on here. Like, once the Tanahashi took over, it left my mind. I was like, Okada's in. We're all good here. So like, it completely left my mind. And they released cards too, right? For February and on. So I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. And you're not going to hear news about like him signing because, we don't do that in Japan. It's just like, all right, he's good. So when the news dropped, I was actually napping, not on purpose. I just happened to fall asleep. But wake up and I just go, you see that stupid New Japan logo in the black and white, and it's
something bad is happening. Someone's getting pulled from a card or leaving.
And yeah, it's something I never imagined would actually happen. And while I think it makes sense for Okada himself, because the reality is he's done everything. He's done everything in New Japan. Sure, he didn't go win the mid-card title, but like, he's the greatest IWGP champion ever. Like, what else does he need to do? He's won the G1s. He's had the Tokyo Dome main events. He's now at an age where if you want to try something, you got to go, right? 36 years old. And there's two companies that want him. Does he want to wrestle at WrestleMania, or does he want to just do America with his friends in AEW, right? That's kind of the two ways you look at it. I think he's going to AEW. I do, just because like Tony Khan already took the victory lap. So I'm like, I feel like if you're gonna take, I
forgot to mention the Marlo from the Wire tweet.
Yeah, he already took the victory lap. So it's like, if Okada wants to challenge himself, he goes there for what, 2, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it may be, and then he can always go back and finish up his career. But there's no better time to do it for him than now. That's the way I think about it. I think if he goes to WWE, it's very interesting, obviously. I don't know how to feel about it because like I can't get my brain to wrap around the idea of Okada in WWE. I think that's the whole part. Like I just can't imagine the coin dropping and then some generic Def Rebel song goes on. Like I just can't imagine that.
No, I don't. I'm sorry, Kenny. I don't want it no more. I don't want it no more.
No, but
they can't give him a Def Rebel theme. They can't give him a Def Rebel
I
theme.
do think part of it is, talking about how not being able to see it. I totally get it. I think part of it as well is that we all, if we've watched WWE, we all sometimes like have these bits of PTSD that come back into our brain of things that have happened where we're like, we've like let ourselves go and like been into something and we've kind of felt shafted by it, not coming to fruition the way we want it to or being stopped. And there's a lot of years of that happens. So even though Triple H has been running it properly for parts of the last 12 months, because we know Vince came back and did stuff, it's going to take a lot longer than that for people who are not just WWE fans to feel more confident about it. And they should have to work back for people's enthusiasm because they've not earned it yet. So I totally think it's fair that we should be, cautious of it if it happens. But I do think it's like, I'm interested at this point by people challenging themselves. Like even like I like the idea of Drew going to AEW because it's new, it's different. It's like I like the idea of somebody doing something I don't expect because to your point about how Okada had done everything in New Japan, there's a lot of people in AEW and WWE who've done everything they're going to do there. Like go and do something new, like give us something different because otherwise, it's going to be diminishing returns eventually.
That is true. That's definitely true.
I think the one thing I would feel good about is like if he would to go to WWE, they're paying him a lot of money. So it's like they're not just going to be like, "Hey, go sit in catering." Like that's not a thing that Triple H does, right? With these top guys, it's not. That's the one thing I know for sure I can give Triple H credit for is he would use him and he would try to make him this big star. That's why they made Shinsuke matter again. I know that's kind of part of the thing. And I would love to see Okada just succeed wherever he goes. Like ultimately that's how I feel because Okada's, one of the all-time greats and now he can solidify that with a run in America. I'm not saying that any Japanese wrestler who's an all-time great needs to do that, but for someone like Okada, it just feels like, okay, let me take an actual challenge. Let me get a challenge that, okay, I go to AEW for a couple years and I main event All In, right? Like I main event one of the biggest shows ever, period. And if you're Tony Khan, you're looking at your roster and you're looking at Okada be available and you're like, man, how do I pass up on having Okada and Omega under the same build, right? In the same building again.
And they never did the fifth match. Never did the fifth match in America.
How do I pass up on Okada as world champion? How do I pass up on Okada versus Hangman versus Swerve versus Samoa Joe? And the list goes on and on and on. But if you're Triple H, you think the same thing. It's like, okay, I have a chance to put this guy in a big time WrestleMania match against, I don't know, take your pick, Gunther, for example. That could be the greatest match in WWE history.
Yeah.
Like we watched Gunther, what he did last year at WrestleMania, right? With Sheamus and was it Drew? Was it triple threat?
Yeah.
And people still rave about that. And it's like there's so many interesting avenues for Okada, and I think that's the fun of it. I still think he's going to AEW, but WWE money is a lot. Like that is a lot.
I also think with Tony Khan, one other thing that I think has to be on his mind, like I think he wants Okada no matter what, like he would love to have him. But like even if he was on the fence about the amount of money, it's like, do you really want to hand WWE another like big thing? Yeah. I mean, like on Raw on Monday, we're gonna have probably a sold out Raw. I'm not checked WrestleTix today, but like I'm sure it will be sold out. And you've got Punk and Cody headlining that, and it's like, if you had just like dealt with your locker room like a year and a half ago, like we would not be in this position where all this stuff's happened. And it's like, I feel like he's not going to want to hand them another big thing.
Right.
And I think Tony Khan will outbid WWE like he did on Ospreay. I think because he wants them and feels like he needs them. So
because for all the faults about Tony Khan's booking, and I mention a lot of them each and every week on this channel, but I will say he does two things very well. He knows how to book legends, and he knows how to book people he is marks over, which Okada is both.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I think that, and then you've seen that booking with CM Punk. You've seen that with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe in 2 years has had a better run than he ever did in WWE in AEW. Like he knows how to book guys. He is marks over in that time, that 2000 to 2010 era.
But see if Tony Khan does get Okada, which I think we're 99.9% sure he's going to get him, right? The one thing I hope he does differently this time is like try and, because I know that Tony Khan doesn't really like video packages, they're not really his thing, but like hype the guy up. Like show us the big moments, show us, because is there not like a real thing where Okada did like a parade in Japan, like with like thousands of people in the streets? Show the fucking footage.
Show the picture of Okada fighting Suzuki in the rain. He made it rain for real in Japan. Like, I agree with you. They don't utilize their production and video department, which is one of the best departments in the whole company. If you watch their social media, those social media interviews they have done since the Continental Classic are the best thing on AEW, and they don't show it enough on the TV. I 100% agree with Kenny on that. They need to use their video and production when it comes to Okada.
It was like that hook. It was like that hook promo. That was great.
That was perfect. I'm just gonna have the Cuba Gooding Jr. moment from Jerry Maguire. Instead of show me the money, it's gonna be show me the footage. Scream it to Tony Khan at all times. Show me the footage.
He's probably heard that a lot since Wembley Stadium. But yes, I think that with like New Japan, they just have to have like an immediate statement that they are building these 3 Musketeers. Me and Scott have talked about it on several occasions in private, on air. Like they gave these guys the moniker and did nothing with them. Shota Umino, you've given him Jon Moxley's gimmick, you've given him Tanahashi's look, you've given him Naito's attitude, and you've given him 0 wins. Like you've done all this stuff, but you haven't pushed them all the way. It's like Triple H booking the WWE Women's Tag Team division. Like he tries more than Vince, but he's not really trying.
What a tough comp.
Yeah, like that's how Gato books the 3 Musketeers. Like Triple
First thing I said on here is he's cooked.
Oh, it's so bad.
But it's hard in wrestling sometimes, and there's various examples of it when you have a roster of your guys who are like your core people, and then either their time is up or they're too old or they move on, and it's like you've got to then find this new crop of people and get them to the level, and a lot of times it doesn't happen. So it's like, but I think New Japan with history have been better than most at eventually figuring it out and like fixing it. Like, so I think that I know people are worried. I don't know enough about New Japan to speak with any sort of education, but I, as a passing person, have seen them recover enough times that I think that they will figure it out. But I mean, also the thing is with New Japan, they are going to have access to these guys still. At AEW, they're going to have access to Ospreay and Okada if he goes. So, hopefully Tony Khan will treat that relationship better than he treated his relationship with Impact, which was like he kidnapped them and burgled them and left them on the street.
No. You know what he did, Kenny? He little brothered them. He went up to Scott Des Moines, like, hey, little guy, hey, I'm just gonna go on your TV. I'm gonna act like Vince McMahon on your TV and shit on your product. I'm gonna have Kenny beat all your top guys, and then you're not gonna get your title back by beating Kenny. No. He's our AEW World Champion. No, we're gonna have Christian to build up one of our matches, beat him for your title, and then you can have that Impact legend back. Here, Christian's here to drop the title.
Hey man, he gave him Frankie Kazarian. Come on.
All is forgiven. They got Frankie Kazarian. It's like, what a coup.
Got Frankie out of the deal. That's awesome. No, but they got to be better with their partners, just overall.
No, November. I'm going back to the New Japan side now. November 4th, 2023. Shota Umino has the match of his life, and he still loses to the guy that's walking out the door in a month. That is all New Japan's fault. People can say like all
the
they
dude
want.
the dude that basically walked out the door 2 weeks later. Scott,
Yeah.
you said a month. It was 2 weeks later.
Well, I was giving them January 4th. I was trying.
Let's be real. He's out the door. He's just got his hand on the door. He's like, all right.
It's true.
I'm gonna wait. I know I'm supposed to close it at a certain time.
Here's the thing: it's not like Ospreay sitting there like, yeah, I'm not gonna put Shota over. No, this is the Gato call. Like, this is the booking call. This is their decision here. You know how I know that? I just watched Josh Alexander beat Will Ospreay. So clearly, if you want your guy to win, Will Ospreay's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, he got pinned by David Finlay. I mean, come on. Yeah. David Finlay. And listen, I don't have that much of a problem with David Finlay. I don't think he's all that great, but it's fine. But still, Shota was made that night. And now he's just sitting around waiting to fight Ren Narita. That's my other problem. Why are these guys wrestling each other? You're not growing against each other right now. They need to be wrestling the top guys. Like Yota Tsuji's got to be wrestling Okada. Oh, wait a minute. He's gone. He's got to be wrestling Tanahashi now. Like, I know Tanahashi's old, but listen, beating Tanahashi still has a little respect to it. Shota should have been global champion or whatever the hell the belt is now. That's what it's called, actually. You
went back to November 4th, Scott. I'm gonna go back to the G1 again because I've been saying it feels like
Hikuleo got over.
Full fucking year I've been saying that. How did you had a whole story at the beginning of the year was Okada's out of the title picture, and now he's working with the young guys, but he hates all the young guys. He had the whole incident with Kaito Kiyomiya, went to Kaito's own promotion and punked him out in the Tokyo Dome. Then he's feuding with Shota Umino and talking trash to him, making Umino look like a star and feel like a star. Same thing with Ren Narita. He's feuding with all these young guys. You put all the young guys in one block and didn't put Okada? Like, it was just mind-boggling. Like, and then you had Sanada be in that block and beat everybody, go undefeated, did nothing for him because
Okada probably would have done that.
No, Okada lost once. Okada lost literally 3 times in 2023 in singles matches. Sanada, which was making a new world champion and a new main eventer. That's fine. That worked. Naito in the G1. That's totally fine as well because Naito went on to go to Wrestle Kingdom, have his big moment against Sanada. But why the fuck is his one loss in block play in G1 to Will Ospreay, who you did know at that time there was a chance he was leaving?
Gotta finish the story, baby.
Will Ospreay finish the story. Infuriating. I'm still infuriated by their choices in the G1.
I couldn't tell. I think you're absolutely right. That's the thing, right? And we talked about that back then, how stupid it was that you put Kaito and all these other guys. Like, my problem at the time, originally when they came up, was like, why is he at least not with Kaito? Like, that's the whole entire story. That's why Kaito would be in this tournament at all. And they're like, okay, no. And then they put all the other young guys, and it's just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense what is going through their minds right now, or back then and still now, because I heard today's show was an absolute.
Oh my god, awful. It was not good. It was not good.
That's how you start off the post Okada era, baby.
All of this feels like New Japan have just been like Okada and Ospreay's not leaving. It just looks like they've been under the impression, oh, they're not leaving. Oh, we don't have nothing to worry about. Like, what?
Can I ask one question before I leave, because I have nothing really to offer the New Japan conversation? So
no worries. I do know you have to at this comment you're saying, and you do have to give us a fuck, marry, kill. Of course.
Oh yeah, obviously that's a given. But anyway, so again, I have limited New Japan knowledge. I'm saying that up front. So if I get this wrong, I'm admitting it. So Sanada, it won the title last year, right?
Yeah,
and he was the world champion in New Japan. And then he was the one who at Forbidden Door, they had him face Jack Perry, right?
Yes.
So, look, I'm just going to call a spade here. Something is going wrong in the pipe if we've got the world champion, and then when he comes to AEW, he's facing Jack Perry. Like, either New Japan have not picked the right guy, or AEW are not honoring the. I mean, look, Sanada, from what I hear, is about as interesting as a lamppost. From what people say, I don't know, but like, surely if you're going to have this partnership, you have to like. That's like a, the difference level there is just. Am I in crazy pills? Like, you guys know more than me.
No, it was it definitely felt like AEW was like, oh, well, Sonata's your world champion. Well, we'll give you an opponent on Sonata's level. That's what it felt like.
That's
AEW was saying.
Disrespectful to Sonata.
I'm not. Jack Perry's more interesting right now after Battle in the Valley than
Listen,
Sonata.
Jack Perry has a title, and you can't take it away from him. Chief Arslicker of the Young Bucks, and he will have that title till the day he dies. So you put some respect on his name. He can lick ass better than anyone in history. I mean,
he can get his ass kicked too.
Give me a rubber.
He grows a nice
Can I
beard.
just say, so here, whether you like CM Punk or dislike him, I don't really care. The thing with Jack Perry, where you know that he is not at the level he needs to be, is he was at a convention last year in England in like April, I think it was, for the Love of Wrestling. And he was asked about doing a program with CM Punk, right? And at this point, we knew AEW were trying to get them back. I know he's best pals with the Young Bucks. That's fine. Like, who cares? But instead of going like an audience member had asked him, would you ever do a program with CM Punk? And rather than him being a company guy and just go, well, you never know, I'm open to whatever, he basically kind of went like, and like laughed it off as if like, I wouldn't work with that guy. Like, that was last April. It's like, grow up. Like, you're in. I mean, there's guys in WWE who'll do press interviews who fucking hate each other, but they will not show you because they are professionals.
I mean, you watch Seth Rollins set up a program, and he does not like CM Punk.
Yeah,
but he's like, "Oh, this is for the money. I don't care." It's like,
I gotta get that Mania payday, man. That man leaped out of that cage at War Games to do that whole stick. He was like, "I gotta get." It was like he was searching. It was like a desperate single woman trying to catch the bouquet. That was Seth Rollins at the end of War Games. Like, he was bad. Kenny, fuck, marry, kill. What do you have?
Okay, I need to try and think of one that's difficult because I feel like I've been trying to think of like disgusting ones and they're too easy. So, okay, Nick Jackson, because the hair problems.
Nicholas Jackson.
Sorry.
Nicholas Jackson.
Put some respect on the EVP who works twice a year. Nicholas Jackson, Ace Steel, and Chris Jericho.
Oh my God.
Whoa, Jesus. Oh my God. Yo, that might be the best one you've ever come up with. Holy shit.
I was going with a kind of brawl out feel to it. So
all right.
Here's the brawl out feel.
So damn.
Well, Ace Steel bites. So
yeah. I like it kinky, so I'm fucking Ace Steel.
Right. Or being fucked by Ace Steel, let's be honest.
No, I'm fucking. I'm doing the fucking.
Okay.
I'm gonna toss the chair first. And I'm gonna fuck. Then I will marry Nick Jackson and I will kill
Nicholas Jackson.
Nicholas Jackson. I will marry Nicholas and I will kill Chris Jericho for the sake of everyone who he goes into a room with a locked door.
Can you imagine your life being married to Nicholas Jackson? Like, can you imagine how like your day-to-day I mean, like, where's
your day-to-day existence?
Like, you wake up and that's your life. That's it. We're gonna talk about God and we're gonna be in a huff with CM Punk. That's our life. That's.
I told Josh before the show he got to answer this time. He got away with Kenny leaving before he answered last time because I think Sat's answer was too much for Kenny. So yeah, Josh, you gotta go next.
Fuck Ace. Marry Nicholas and then kill Jericho.
We're on the same page.
Scott, are you going to make it a clean sweep? Or are you going to mix it up?
Yeah, I'll make it a clean sweep just because I don't know.
No, you should have seen the last one. It was Sat. He That went off the rails.
Yes, that knows how to take it off the rails.
I'll give you what my answer would be. So I would. This is difficult because I have to. There's tours that I've done involved here, so I need to be careful with my on-camera answers. I'm going to say that I would fuck Nicholas Jackson because at least he could be part of something good in his life for a few minutes. So I'll elevate him.
Oh my god!
I would marry. I'd marry Ace Steel because I think he would be top banter,
Loyal
to a T.
He is loyal. Loyal.
And Ace Steel, I could wake up in the morning and be like, "We're gonna go to such a good bar tonight and get tanked. It's gonna be great."
So is jeering Kenny during the stage show. All you see is the chair. World star.
Yeah, you think you're gonna fuck with me in a tour anymore? No chance. And then I would kill Chris Jericho because he's done everything anyway. It's fine. Move on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my political answer for that one. We'll move on.
Thank you so much to Kenny for coming on the show. You are honestly one of our favorite regular guests now. We appreciate you joining us. Please let the people know where they can follow you on social media, Inside the Ropes. What you got going on, sir?
You can go to itrwrestling.com to get all of our news articles. We've got a magazine, InsideTheRopesMagazine.com. You can pick that up. The new issue, I interviewed Eddie Kingston, which is really good. And I just interviewed Nick Aldis for the next issue, so that should be good as well. I'm really bad at plugging myself. What else? Oh, yeah, so you should not vote for Donald Trump.
That's great. That's the best. That might be the best outro we've ever had on the show. Thank you so much, Kenny, for joining us. We know we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys. I'll be back soon to jump in again and rant. Bye.
Exactly. Thank you. That was great. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. We got more. You just joined us, so you're sticking around for a little bit. I'm sorry, Richard.
All right, I got like 20 minutes. So whatever.
There we go. There you go. We got one more thing to talk about with Okada leaving because you had to hear that he has some big matches coming up, but we had to hear from one of his greatest rivals. Of course, I am talking about Hiroshi Tanahashi. New Japan Pro Wrestling announced on Thursday, following the announcement of Okada leaving, that Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada will have one final match on February 11th at New Beginning in Osaka. These two men, this is going to be Okada's kind of one of his final big matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They defend the never openweight 6-man tag team titles on the 24th in Kurgan Hall against TMDK, and he is also set to wrestle on February 23rd and 24th. New Japan president Hiroshi Tanahashi weighed in on Okada leaving the company. He said, "I can only express my gratitude in the sense that I have contributed to New Japan for the past 12 years. Speaking personally, I would have liked to see more matches with the new generation and Okada, Shota Umino, Ren Narita, Yota Tsuji, Yuya Uemura. However, if I feel for Okada, I know that he has done enough in New Japan. I hope he will spread his wings in the world. If he is going overseas with what he has achieved at the top in New Japan, I hope that he will show them Kazuchika Okada. It's the same feeling I had with Nakamura. I am very proud of him. I think things will get interesting from now on. We have an abundance of talent right now, and there are a lot of young fighters in the dojo. When the rain stops, there will be a rainbow. Who will light up the future of New Japan when the rain of money stops falling?"
It's too bad your booker sucks, bro.
Too bad your booker ain't doing shit.
Yeah, he's doing
he
shit.
put
Nothing.
Evil in the first main event of the new era. Evil.
Listen, I kind of
He put a muscle training match, Scott. A muscle training match. I had to watch Great Khan do lunges for 30 seconds at a time.
Great Khan won, didn't he?
He did, though. He fell on the title at the end.
Hey, there
That's
you
how
go.
he won. That's how he won.
That's stupid.
He didn't pin anybody. Didn't submit anybody. He fell on the title.
Nice. Maybe wrestling's bad.
He might be on to something here. We do have a super chat donation, a big one from Shay Nasty. Thank you so much, Shay. We always be seeing you, especially on our flagship, showing some love. We appreciate that. He says Okada in AEW with a limited schedule would be great. Maybe have him at all pay-per-views and a few Dynamites. This way he can save his body. Remember, he is 36, and in New Japan years, 36 is like 46, maybe 50. So yeah, I said it before. I want Okada to be the final boss, the Brock Lesnar of AEW. What do you think about how AEW, if they are able to sign Okada, how they book him, Scott?
He should never lose. Well, that's a little bit much, but like he should win most of his matches, especially at the start. Like I'm not having him because anytime he's appeared in AEW, he's lost. He's never won a match, and I think that's ridiculous. I would have him come in determined. Obviously, with the music, New Japan can give that out. I don't know if I can watch Okada without the music. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the coin drop. If no offense to the AEW music creators, but like you're not topping that, so just ask for the song.
And they did that with Jay, so I'm hoping they do it with.
I think booking Okada. I like the Lesnar idea. Obviously, I'd have him wrestle a little bit more than Lesnar because that's twice a year. I would have him wrestle every pay-per-view. I think maybe that's the best way to do it with Okada. Never have him wrestle on TV. Make him a pay-per-view.
It has to be
fighter.
like a special episode. It has to be
If it's winter's coming, that's fine.
Fighter Fest, one of those. Yeah,
make him a prize fighter.
Grand Slam. Yeah. I want to see him in Arthur Ashe. Yeah,
make him must see. Right? You want to see Okada, you want to see the big match. He's not just gonna go out there and wrestle in a tag or a preview tag. No, you got to watch the pay-per-view. This guy should come off completely as this like absolute prick. I think that's the Okada that I want to see because people are gonna want to cheer him, but if he just takes out like one guy that people love here in America, they're gonna boo him. And just like Okada's so special. Like that's what I think like some of these AEW, WWE fans don't fully understand like what is coming to them one way or the other. This guy is a mega star. He is the biggest wrestling star that hasn't wrestled for one of those companies. Possibly like ever. Like that's what he is. He's an all-time great and you're about to get an all-time great. I like your idea. I do. I really do. I like making him a prominent figure where he just has to pretty much come in for the one show, do a few pre-tapes and all that good stuff. I think that would be great because I want Okada to be special still. Like I don't want him to lose his luster, and that's the one thing I'm afraid of no matter what company he goes to.
Yeah, that's the only thing that does scare me about him going to an AEW or even a WWE is that we won't get the Okada that made him special, that made him an all-time great in New Japan. I feel safer with him going to AEW because that is the Okada that Tony Khan has fallen in love with and that is a big fan of. And I think that we will see a little bit of that in AEW. We also got TT, the actor, who says, don't want Okada to go to WWE. They'll change his name to Kobayashi Okato or something. Give him an atrocious theme song and force him to smile and wear yellow tights. I don't think they'll do that.
They won't change his name if they bring him in.
They won't do that. They won't do that much. And we do have another super chat donation from our good friend, the one and the only Will Chisholm. Thank you, Will. He says, you're right, but the only real way I see Okada going to WWE is if they give him the Brock deal. But Brock is Brock. I don't know if they would give that to Okada. I don't see them giving him a deal. Like literally, that's what the Sports Illustrated report said, is that with WWE, the big hurdle is talking Okada into moving to Florida. Everybody had to relocate to Florida. Punk is one of the few, Brock's one of the few that don't live in Florida that are able to travel. Like,
yeah,
he'll get that where he doesn't have to live in Florida, but you got to move to the US. That's what they'll say. You don't have to go. You don't have to come to Florida. Where do you want the U.S.?
Same thing with Gunther. That's why it took him years to move to the U.S. And he wasn't even trying to live in the U.S. at all.
No, he wasn't.
He got divorced, and he was like, all right.
Yeah. He got divorced, got with Ginny, and then he said, all right, okay, sure.
Yeah, that's the only way it happened. And he ain't getting no divorce, so I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
He just had a baby, y'all. He just had a baby. Let's not
But then,
push that.
but then also, right? Isn't Will Ospreay in the situation too himself that he basically could go to the UK like a lot of times, like where he's, his schedule will fit that. So I think that's why with they'll do the same thing with Okada with Japan. So that'll be the easiest route when it comes to that as well.
There you go. We got a couple of more comments I wanted to highlight here. Vala B saying, I love the muscle training match. Calm down, SP3. No, I'm not going to calm down. That was trash. I love some trash matches too. That's fine. That's fine that you love some trash match, but
I'm not going to watch it personally. So
it was trash.
I heard all I had to hear.
I mean, yeah, it's
But
yeah.
I will say I did stop watching after God versus Kenta and Chase because I was like, nah, I heard what happened with Evil and Tama. I don't need to watch it.
You knew what was happening. You didn't have to watch it.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't have to watch it from the beginning, but then I heard it wasn't good, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna watch it. I was like, maybe I'll watch it later after the show. I'm not gonna force myself to watch it before the show. You know what I did do? I rewatched Ospreay and Alexander again, which we'll talk about.
I still have to watch that once, so I will.
My God.
I will disappear for that.
Go watch it on YouTube. They got the full match without the commercials on YouTube.
That's what I was waiting for. That's why I didn't watch it the night of.
Yeah, I watched it the night of, which was a mistake because that Okada news totally distracted me. But we also got Myron Kid who says Gato was the best booker in wrestling for years until he hit that wall called COVID. Should have quickly invested your young homegrown instead of pushing the same old people. He's 100% right that ever since the pandemic, it's been the same old with all these divisions. Okada in the heavyweight scene, Hiromu in the junior heavyweight scene, Bishamon in the tag team division. Like, it's been the same old. The stuff that's been new and refreshing has been the stuff that has gotten over since the pandemic. Ospreay as the IWGP heavyweight champion, Ospreay as the US champion, Zack as the TV champion, TMDK, United Empire. These new fresh things are the things that are getting over, and they kept thinking that, we'll just ride the stuff we know, the reliable stuff, and that will bring us out of this doldrums, and it really hasn't.
I like that you bring up Hiromu because I was talking about this yesterday, trying to think of like what directions can New Japan go to, because there's one of having to get stars over, but they're also going to have to try to pack crowds, right? That's the big thing in Japan, is selling tickets, and all roads lead to Wrestle Kingdom next year. Obviously, I think whether he likes it or not, there has to be a serious consideration moving forward of making Hiromu Takahashi a heavyweight, because he is so popular. Like, it's him and Naito now with Okada gone. Like, those are your top two most popular wrestlers.
Yeah.
Hiromu's still very young, and I think he would greatly benefit from a change of scenery, right? We're talking about how he is always in the juniors conversation. Having Hiromu enter the New Japan Cup and enter the G1, like, these are things that are going to help the product rather than just having him wrestle the same guys in Best of Super Juniors, so on and so forth. You can still have him in that because Ospreay did that one year, right? He went from Best of Super Juniors to the G1. That's what I think you have to do, because there is we have to build up stars, but we also need to try and get people in the building ASAP, right? And that's their fault. They don't have those new stars already ready to do that. So you got to lean on the guys you do have. And to me, Hiromu is one of those guys. I think Hiromu, remember when Hiromu was in the New Japan Cup? Was it 2 years ago? It was awesome.
That was the pandemic one. 2020.
Yeah. And the crowd lost their minds when he beat Evil. It was so good. Put him up. Make him, like, I know he wants to be he's so determined on junior wrestling. I get it. But New Japan needs him in a different spot rather than being Kamitachi and going to DDT and going all these places. They're going to need him a lot more now. So that's one of my pitches besides, getting the young guys over, which I feel like I've been talking with you about for 365 plus days.
But they also need to fill the spots that are leaving of Okada and Ospreay. And the reason, and we talked about it yesterday on the New Beginning preview, and Scott, and kind of even Kenny alluded to it for the New Japan fans. We've seen this happen before. This is now the third time this decade.
And they've bounced back every time.
A mass exodus of top stars. Like they did
White
this
won the belt
Nakamura and all these Styles and Good Brothers left. What did they do? They elevated Kenny. Kenny immediately won the Intercontinental title. Naito wins the New Japan Cup and then wins the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. They did all of that in 4 months right after. Then with the Elite, with the birth of AEW, the Elite left. You had Kenny, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Hangman Page, the Best Friends, SC, all these people, even the people from ROH you were using, got took by AEW. What did they do? Immediately elevate Jay White. A month later, he wins the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. They start the ascent of Kota Ibushi to him winning the G1 later that year. They did all of that in the first 4 months. They gotta deliver these first 4 months after this exit. They have to fill the spots that are being left. And what they need to do, Zach needs to be the guy who beats Naito for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Probably at Dominion would be the latest I would do that. And Shingo is the guy that you put into that global title to make that title. He should be the guy that beats David Finlay and then goes on the reign that makes that title. Shingo and Zach are the guys that fill the Okada and Ospreay spots, in my opinion.
I get that. The only thing that I am worried about, and this is because of the past now, is that Zach does finally get his run, and then a year goes by, and he's gone again. Right? Like
I don't think Zach is that guy. Though.
I hope not.
He seems like he is Gaijin Naito. He loves Japanese wrestling.
And if that's the truth,
he tried the US with the Cruiserweight Classic. Yeah. He'll visit in AEW, but we never see the over-the-top flirting that Tony Khan had did with like Will Ospreay and Okada. Yeah. We never see that with that.
He's the guy I'm trying to give a longer-term deal to, right? Because the top guys get long-term deals, longer term. They're not 1 year contracts. If you could sign him to that, then you push him into that top spot. No doubt about it. You have to push him to that top spot either way. Like, you don't have a choice, actually. Another thing that helped during those times when all these people left was the junior division. The junior division was healthy and hot.
I talked about that because I tested my guys on the New Japan podcast. I will test you two guys. Do you want to know, do you remember what's the one match that elevated the entire junior division in 2016 after the exit of Nakamura, Styles, and the Good Brothers? Do you remember what it was?
2016.
That elevated the entire division, and the division has been on a higher level ever since. Do you know what that match was?
I keep thinking of the years later, so now
you both don't know.
Hiromu?
What was the match that went viral and got everybody to watch New Japan in 2016? Ricochet and Ospreay.
After
that match, it was never the same. I thought about that this week. I said it on the podcast yesterday. I had to say it here. That took the junior. The junior division has not, because I had a whole debate earlier this week when someone had told me that Suji and Shooter were in a better standing now than Omega was coming out of being the top heel of the junior heavyweight division before he got elevated in 2016. I was like, no, that's bullshit. But they did make a good point. They did make a good point of saying, when you say, oh, Kenny Omega for the last year before becoming a heavyweight, he was in the top feud with Kushida, people have a misconception, if they're just a modern fan, that we're talking about the junior heavyweight division of today, and that's not what it was in 2015. But 2016, that match, Ricochet and Ospreay, that took it, and it's gone up and up since then with Hiromu and El Desperado and Kushida and all these guys that have made it bigger.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you look at the 2019 Best of Super Juniors. That's the one I always like to look at, right? So the AEW guys are gone. The 2019 Best of Super Juniors is one of the best tournaments. It had Dragon Lee, Will Ospreay, Bandito. The list goes on and on and on. If you can recapture the greatness of the junior division, which we got a hint of last year.
The last year's junior, that was probably my second favorite outside of
Right.
2019 was last year's.
It was so good. And I think that's what they got to lean back on, especially with the heavyweight side of things not being as strong as it has been. They know, here's the thing about this whole conversation. They know what to do. They've done it. It's the problem of they haven't done these things in years now, right? It's been 4 years since I think Gato was a great booker, right? The 2020 Wrestle Kingdom was his that happened, and he was like, "All right, I'm done. Have a good time, everybody."
No. The New Beginning tour, that New Beginning show that had Mox and Suzuki and and Dragon Lee. Yeah, that was up there too.
But I'm just gonna call it Wrestle Kingdom to make my life easier. But you're absolutely right. But it's been nothing ever since. Like, you need to prove to me, this is the year. Go win Booker of the Year. Go prove that you're deserving of that title ever again. You know, and I don't know if he is. Yeah, I don't know if he is. Oh, right, had Shingo too. Duh.
Yeah,
that was the
Shingo Ospreay. Yeah, that's still my favorite tournament final of any tournament ever.
That it was absolutely stacked, and New Japan has so many great relationships that and I'm not talking about AEW. That relationship takes a lot from them. I don't want to talk about that relationship right now, but they have relationships with Impact, TNA, whatever the hell it's called. CMLL. You want to talk about a company you should be using more to your advantage? Hello. I looked at the Fantastic Mania card. I was like, yes, hope, something. And it's like, you look at the card, it's like, oh, they put Tanahashi on it. That's it. All right.
Yep.
Which is like, it's just so frustrating. But like, when the Best of Super Juniors comes around, you had Bandito and Dragon Lee in that 2019 one. All right, give me Teton and Masquerade Dorada. This guy that's making waves right now. The guy that got the first ever 5-star match from Dave in CML history, which is absurd to say out loud.
That is crazy. Yeah, I saw that too. I got to watch that match.
It's very good, but I'm
gonna hit you up for a link later.
Yeah, when I saw the 5 stars, I was like, that one? Because great matches with Rocky.
But to be fair, it's been very confusing this week because I when he gave Ospreay and Okada for Battle in the Valley, I was like, great match. Not 5 stars.
Not 5,
but not 5. It's like
he was there in the building, wasn't he?
He blindly just gives 5 stars because it's Ospreay.
I think he was in the building, so I guess I'll give him a little leeway there because, like, you know, sometimes you experience things, it's different. But yeah, it was not 5 stars. But yeah, I'm focused on the junior division. I'm focused on these relationships you've created. And I'm focusing on just getting these young guys ready to go. But, you know, with the booker like Gato, I'm not getting my hopes up.
It's always a catch-22 with young Gato-san. But I think
there's nothing young about that, man.
We've done enough talking about Okada, but we do have one more super chat donation from Will Chisholm. He says the last 6 months just feel weird between New Japan and Stardom. Sometimes feels like Stardom Booker has heat with AEW, then it's the Julia stuff, and now Okada. Is it really all because the money is low? The yen is down. The yen is down, so that's why a lot of people are leaving the promotion. I mean, you could tell us more about the last 6 months of Stardom feeling weird, but
weird. But Bushi Road mess going on.
So. New Japan, I've said the last 6 months throughout this whole thing, this period of feeling weird with New Japan, it all started with the G1. He fucked up the placement of the G1, and they haven't recovered since. But Stardom, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have Kidani apologizing at 24/7 now, which of course is the guy who runs Bushi Road. It comes down to money, but it all comes down to, like, if you read the Observer a few months ago, I'm sure you read about the Bushi Road fight president who got removed and he got replaced by Taro Okada. That was a big problem going on in the Stardom situation. But yeah, Stardom has had a good start to the year, obviously, but there seems to be just something disconnected with Bushi Road. No, like it's not just the promotions. I think the promotions know what they're doing. Yeah, the yen is down, so like wrestlers, if they want to go to America, they're going to, and that's a big thing too, right? Like I think it's very overdone by some fans. Like, oh, the yen's down, they're all going to go to America. They might not want to go to America. Like I don't know if people know that. Like moving across the world and wrestling isn't for everyone.
No, it's
I mean,
not.
the most popular wrestler in Japan has no part of him that wants to go to America. Naito is perfectly happy wrestling in Japan. You know, it's like it all depends, but I do think there's a disconnect with Bushi Road right now, and they're just trying to figure it out, right? Because Okada leaving is the ultimate, and Okada leaving is bad for Japanese wrestling. It's
100%.
it's bad. You lose Okada, you lose the leader of the clubhouse. You lose the guy that was at All Together Again, saying leading the final chant, and it is tough. And there's just way too many questions right now that we don't have answers to. Like I don't know how New Japan bounces back. There's an obvious answer of how they should bounce back, but it's going to take time. And I will say, as someone who has followed Stardom for a while, one thing that they always have done when wrestlers have left, they lost Io Shirai, they've lost Kairi, Julia's the next one out the door. They always have their young stars ready to go.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that all these promotions could really learn from, is having your young talent ready for the next step when it's time to step up.
Yeah. I think that New Japan is going to have to learn that the hard way now, but we shall see how they do that. But until then, we must bid Scott adieu. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us on last minute notice. I want to let the people know, give them an opportunity to follow you on social media, learn everything you're doing at 5-Star Media, Fightful. You're all over the place. Let the people know where they can see you.
Yeah, you can follow me at Scotty Wrestling on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. I do the 5-Star Joshi Show on podcast platforms. You can just look it up, or Fight Game Media Network. That's the best way to find it. I also do Stardom Road if you want to learn about the history of Stardom. What else do I do? Do Ring Post Radio every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Over on the Count Up Podcast Network live feed. You can also probably find it on my Twitter, I'm sure. This technology that makes it go out there and I don't pay attention. But yeah, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I can't wait to keep talking about Okada and my sadness. And
we're gonna have you back on to when we do the Tru Heel Heat flagship of after Okada signs. So we can
when we get that All Elite logo.
Yeah, when we get the All Elite logo, when we have the WrestleMania debut. We're going to have Scott E on. I've said it here first.
All right. I'll be there.
Brother, thank you as always for joining us. That is Scott E Wrestling. Go out of your way to follow him for all your Joshi coverage, New Japan coverage. This man watches everything. WWE, AEW. Go over and follow him. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Now we must enter. You know where we're entering, Josh? The Converse. We're into the Converse because we got to talk about AEW Dynamite this week. AEW Dynamite did 891,000 viewers, their highest 18 to 49 demo 0.33 since the Grand Slam edition of the show. And a lot of that came down to the main event, Samoa Joe defeating Hook in a tremendous 9-minute main event that featured Hook being slammed into a table, getting the muster buster, and kicking out at one to a huge pop from the crowd in South Carolina. Hook looked like he was on the verge of victory before Samoa Joe choked him out. Post-match, Hook got on his feet until Joe laid him out with a second muscle buster, but Hook got back to his feet again until Joe came back. However, Hangman Adam Page came out and made the save before Joe bailed. And Swerve Strickland came out to stare down with the champ and his rival, as Samoa Joe was worried about all the people gunning for him. Christian Cage beat Dustin Rhodes in a good opener to retain the TNT title, even though people should have been more pissed at Dustin Rhodes kicking out of the kill switch than Hook kicking out the Muscle Buster at 1. I'll just say that. Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta beat Commander Penta El Zero Miedo in a rock-solid tag team match. Post-match, Roderick Strong and the Undisputed Kingdom came down to interrupt the Best Friends hug, and Roddy challenged OC for the AEW International Championship at AEW Revolution. Deonna Purrazzo defeated Anna Jay. Post-match, Renee Paquette interviewed Deonna about her past and friendship with Timeless Toni Storm, who was on commentary, and she was spectacular, thinking that Ian Riccaboni was a young Tony Schiavone. And then she got on the mic after Deonna Purrazzo talked about their past and their friendship and said she was going to sock her in the box. Yep. Bullet Club Gold picked up the win, defeating Mogul Embassy to win the ROH 6-man tag team titles, thanks to an assist from Anthony Bowens of the Acclaim. And finally, the Young Bucks cut their first promo since their return, where they discussed taking their job as EVPs more seriously and thinking Sting doesn't fit the original mission statement of AEW, so that's why they are targeting him. What did you think about this week's AEW Dynamite? Hook and Samoa Joe were draws, but what did you think about the show overall, including that main event?
It was a great show. Like I said, like I've stated before, a lot of the, I don't know, I'll call it unnecessary bullshit AEW's gotten. They put on great shows. They're very consistent, like with their shows, and I felt like this wasn't any different. It's a great main event. I love the main event. I know there was people complaining about like the whole kicking out of one thing, at this, you know what it is when it comes to that is so many people are trying to gatekeep of what professional wrestling is supposed to be or what's right or wrong and shit. I think that's just what it comes down more to. I didn't have a problem with the one kick out. I thought it was great because it got the crowd back into it. It built up momentum for Hook. But then also the overall is the whole match. We already knew Hook wasn't winning, but the whole point of the match was to put Hook over in a loss, and that's what Samoa Joe did. Still made Samoa Joe look strong, and it put Hook over in a loss. That was the whole point of the main event. And also, Samoa Joe wasn't injured, so that's also a good thing, Yeah. And then what was the other stuff that came about?
What did you think about the Young Bucks promo?
Oh, the Young Bucks promo was good. It's just funny that they've always been good when it comes to getting like becoming heels and like what they need to be heels in the moment for. I feel like this is no different, and their reasoning going after Sting is just pretty hilarious. Like, oh, he doesn't fit our mission statement when it comes to the company. It's hilarious. But I do like the choice. Like, it did make me like the choice of the Young Bucks and Sting. I was never against it because I was like, the Young Bucks are gonna make them look good, but I felt like the promo itself, like it's doing favors for the build up when it comes to that.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I know Jimmy Macaram did it, but I expected him not to.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, it's you know what it is too when it comes to that. When you already dislike something or dislike someone,
yeah, there's literally nothing they can do. Like so Jimmy tried to explain why it's not good, and I was like, if it's enjoyable, I think it's good. Like, and he tried to debate me that I didn't think it was good. Like,
no, it was good. It was good. It's just, again, when you have this mindset of if there's somebody you don't like, then you're just gonna trash everything they do. Yeah. Jimmy's no exclusion to that. I've seen it multiple times from him. There's a lot of things I don't agree with what he says because his thing is already, you know what it is? He's already made up his mind on a lot of things. So it's like there's no convincing him of what he's gonna like or not like, and that's fine. but just don't try to like be about it. You know what I mean? Just say it. Just, run with it. That's what you want to, that's how you feel. Run with it. Don't try to try to do this Jedi mind trick of like, oh, well, why it wasn't good. We all know why you don't like.
He tries to Jedi mind trick me into not liking something that he doesn't like.
It doesn't work. And it never works.
No, I know it never does. It never really works. But because
even in a sense, like we've never shied away from like if there's something that we like, we'll say it. But if something comes about and it's bad, then it's bad. Like I've never shied away from that. Like when it comes to Tony Khan, do I think he gets a lot of shit more than usual? Yes. There things you could criticize him for? Yes. But the whole aspect of like, oh, Tony Khan was always a bad booker. And this is a general statement. This is a general Twitter thing. This is a general social media thing where people try to like enlign themselves of like Tony Khan's a bad booker and all this stuff, where that wasn't always the case, in my opinion. And also, we've seen worse. We've seen a lot worse.
I always say the booking got much worse when he had too much on his plate. When he picked up Ring of Honor, that's when it all kind of fell apart.
It got shaky. It got shaky. And I feel like it's gotten back to course ever since the Continental Classic. Like once that got announced, I felt like it's getting better. Like it's
most definitely.
Yeah, more things are getting in line. Now, the only thing I would say for TK is I would want him to be more committed to storylines. If you're going to start with something, be committed to it. I think that's the only real criticism I have with him. Like, for example, like sometimes when he does the stables, sometimes the stables split apart and we don't even notice they split apart until like somebody mentions it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's something that he has to like, if you're going to go about that, then make it clear, like, all right, this is what's happening, right? That's the biggest criticism I have for Tony Khan. Now, when it comes to and then now it's going to be more interesting to see what he does with Hook. Now, I don't expect Hook to always be in a title picture, but I think if you still make him look good, you still make him look prominent to the point that it's like, all right, this kid is probably going to be a world champion next year. I think then you're doing your job. I just don't want people to expect like what happened on Wednesday. Like, all right, he's gonna be next in line for the world championship. Because I think that would be the worst. That would be the worst decision they would make. You already have other people in line. You have Swerve in line. I think he should still be the next champion. You know what I mean?
This was everything you could have wanted out of this matchup. It drew a great rating. You started Samoa Joe's title reign on a good note, and it feels like Hook could get back to where he was, because the past year did nothing. It kept Hook in the same place, and he got less over. He got finally thrown into the deep end, which me and Jimmy have been saying for months. We wanted that to happen for Hook because that's what he needed. He got thrown into the deep end and he swam, and he showed a different side of himself that he could play the underdog babyface.
Yeah, and then also what I've liked what they've been doing with like his talking has gotten better. Like, and I think what they, like the way they approach it, I think that's what they should go by. You shouldn't do these long-winded promos. Keep it short, sweet, simple. You're getting straight to the point. Boom. That's how you do it. Because I think sometimes with certain people, like Sammy Guevara is one of them. I could come to mind. Like Sammy Guevara could cut a promo maybe for like 2 minutes. Anything past that is kind of like, oh, bro, like just get to the fucking point. You know what I mean? So I think like with Hook, what they've been doing with Hook, just do that. Even when he says like just one word or whatever, just keep it like that, because that's his niche. When he came into the company, he didn't say one word for how many months? You know what I mean? So you keep it like that, and then maybe like more and more, like you could kind of make him like his dad, because remember his dad, he will cut like these crazy promos, his own dad, where it's like,
Taz's cold open promos on ECW pay-per-views where he's just talking shit. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg, they got shit on me. Like, I was a kid, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's the baddest dude on the planet.
And that's something like have you noticed? That's kind of similar. Like him and his dad, they're very similar when it comes to that. Because Taz, there was a point of his career where he wasn't cutting promos. He was just going out there with a towel, just whooping ass. Hook was kind of the same way, and then they slowly started making him talk more. So there's similarities. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, he's gonna be like his dad, but there's similarities there. Obviously, there's a big difference with like the structure of like both of their work, like they're both how they look and their structure of work, like their body of work. But that's something I think that they should keep in mind. Like, all right, don't try to make something Hook is not. Keep him what he's about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we got some news to discuss coming out of Dynamite. I 100% agree with Josh, though. Like, it's all about the follow-up now with Hook, for sure. But we got more to talk about because we talked about Kazuchika Okada possibly coming to AEW. But we got to talk about the other big name that people are saying might be coming to AEW. Yes, it's time for the Mercedes Watch. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Mercedes Moné is still expected to arrive in AEW at some point, possibly as soon as February. The belief is that she is going to come in when she finishes up her acting commitments this month. The report also noted that even though talks didn't progress back in December, there are some in WWE who now believe there's a good chance she appears at the Royal Rumble. I will note that someone posted this report on social media, and Sean Ross Sapp, who has been very adamant that everybody believes that is 90% sure Mercedes Moné will debut in AEW. He basically put an emoji of Shannon Sharp laughing at that report. Yeah, like Shannon Sharp shaking his head and laughing and saying, "Nope, that's not the real deal." So, where are you gonna put it on? Where do you want to put like this is where you believe Mercedes Moné will debut in AEW?
I'm going to say maybe before Revolution or the pay-per-view.
I'm going to say at Revolution now.
At Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm leading with. Because even though I made the joke, I was like, Okada, they're going to announce Okada signing at Revolution. You heard it here first. If they do that, if they were to do both of them, that would be similar to like all out. Happen. That would be similar to that. I mean, be at the show, so I wouldn't be against that. I'd be like,
I'm here for it. I'm going to get my fight next week, Josh.
Yeah, I'm like, do it. Because I already got my flight booked. I already got everything. So I'm like, I wouldn't be against that. I still think she is going to show up in AEW. I just think that's, I don't know. But when it comes to WWE, I think that's just fillers. Like they're just trying to convince themselves, no, she's still going to come back. They're still trying to convince themselves. I just don't see it happening just because, again, there's a big disconnect with Mercedes and WWE. And I think a lot of people really don't understand like the magnitude where I'm coming from when it comes to this. She left on bad terms. They wanted to bring her back after she left on bad terms. They said, no, you're not worth Becky money. Then, she does her thing in Japan. The whole thing was like, oh yeah, this is going to be like her. Well, I forgot. This is a phase. When she finishes her phase, she's going to come back. She's going to come back. Right. So, and then the second time you had her try to come back, you basically said the same thing. No, you're not worth this much. Like you're not worth it. And then
they keep telling her that.
Yeah, and it's like to me, once you do it, I think once was bad enough, but once you do it again, to me, that's kind of like, I think Mercedes is better off just doing what she's still doing, in my opinion. And then when it comes to AEW, I mean, it's just she's gonna be easily the number one woman when she gets there. That's like, there's no doubt about it. That's no, and I think that's why it's a great. Regardless of people want to say, oh no, it's it's a bad decision. She's making a huge mistake. I really don't think she would be making a big mistake. Why? Because she's going to be treated. This is what they need for the women's division. Even though it's gotten better, it's gotten way better. The women's division,
but you need kind of like you need the star player.
Yep,
Like they got a whole bunch of people that are on like a certain level, but they don't have that tippy top tier talent yet. They got people that are very talented and are finding themselves and getting more over. Like Timeless Toni Storm was one of the highlights of Dynamite this week. Just her being on the mic, just being her character, and she feels like the biggest woman star that they have right now, but she's not on the level of Mercedes Moné.
You know, it kind of reminds me of, you might disagree with this. It kind of reminds me of my New York Knicks, right? They're a good team. They become better, right? Jalen Brunson has become a star. Julius Randle has become way better than he's been in his career. But let's be real, they're still missing that big giant piece in the
They don't have a superstar. Yeah.
They don't have that big star that they need to put them over the top. That's what the women's division reminds me of. They've done a great job building certain characters. They've done a great job showing they've done a great job showcasing the women too, because they've been showing up a lot in segments. Like we're talking about like 10, 11, 12 women showing up in segments. So they've been putting a more focus on that too. I think a lot of people just don't focus on that because they kind of look the other direction, like, oh, because this happened 2 years ago, I'm not gonna, like that's their mindset. Like, oh, well, it's never been great.
And they can never change. They can never do anything. Yeah.
And then, so I think she's still gonna show up, but then also to point out, because a lot of people don't actually know this, your friend Andrew, what's his last name?
Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew. He did a podcast not so long ago that the reason why he's standing on this, why she's going to show up, is because he was told something that he was sworn not to reveal. He was told not to throw out there, and he's standing by it. This is what he told SRS. This is why both guys have been like, nope, that's not happening. This is what's happening.
You want to know what I think it is?
What?
Zarian has made it no secret. His sources a lot of times for AEW are in WBD. I think WBD knows Mercedes is on. That's what I think it is.
What happened?
I think WBD knows that Mercedes is signed with AEW because WBD is probably going to do something with Mercedes in 2024. Oh,
that makes sense. But I do know, like, because I know I know he does have major sources like within WBD. He's, that's why he's been great. So that's why when he says something, it's like, oh shit, something's coming up.
I gotta hit. You making me want to hit. I'm gonna hit Zarian up. That's my New York brother, and we were on. We were talking about getting bootleg wrestling tapes when we were kids in New York.
Yeah, but like he said it. He was like, he was told something. He was told not to his journalism, integrity. He was told not to throw the information out there. And both guys, SRS and Andrew, know what's going on, and they've kept quiet. But not only kept quiet, but SRS has been firm on it. He's been like, nope, that's not happening. She's still going to AEW. I think she's still going because this is what I was told. Something, and I'm sticking with that. So that when people try to like use this whole thing like, oh, well, you said she was showing up immediately. You said she was showing up this week, which is like, no, that's not what he said. And I think people kind of take the term immediately to
eminently. No, they take eminently as immediately, which is two different things.
Yeah. And that's what makes it funny.
Same word.
Yeah. And then even immediately, I think it's even if you're using it that term, it doesn't mean next week.
No,
that week. It doesn't mean that. It just means
eminently basically means pending.
Yep. Yeah. So which means it could be 2 months. It could be, which I mean, they're not going to wait that long, but that's just what it is. It's like, they know something that they're not saying. They have every right to do that because again, that's their careers on the line. So they stuck by it. So I respect it.
Yeah. I do too, and those are two guys I have a great deal of respect for. I got to hit up Andrew to come back on the show. Yeah, he's a good brother. Always have fun talking to him. But let's talk about another free agent that apparently was backstage at Dynamite this week. He's got to add another Infinity Stone. My Lord, he's going to the NWA Infinity Stone. Camille was backstage at this week's AEW Dynamite. Camille is the former NWA Women's World Champion. She was backstage in Charleston, South Carolina. Camille is believed to have been visiting friends at the show, and those that the site spoke to haven't confirmed whether she signed a deal as of yet. She is a free agent at the start of the year, and WWE has reportedly had interest in her. The company was expected to make an offer to her to join NXT. Now, my question to you, Josh, is this like Tony Khan's big bid to change the perception war? Because we've been talking about this whole big perception war and how AEW got battered in the perception war. I had to switch it up. I noticed that we weren't talking about money anymore. They have lost the perception war throughout ever since All Out. It's been like an 18-month, 2-year process of them just getting battered in the perception war with how Tony Khan handled the brawl out situation. The falling ratings, the falling ticket attendance, and a lot of that, they haven't had the big signings that they did in like early 2022 and the late part of 2021 that alleviated a lot of like any complaints that anybody had at AEW at this time. But then you're starting off 2024 with Will Ospreay's about to come in next month. Deonna Purrazzo just signed. You got the rumors of Mercedes Moné coming in. Now they're the favorites to pick up Kazuchika Okada. You got Camille backstage. Is all of these free agents maybe Tony Khan's bid to change the perception war? And if they are able to get all these free agents and use them properly, do you think that they can change their perception to some of the people out there? Like we said before, there's going to be those people that are just anti-AEW, and it doesn't matter what they do, they'll be anti-AEW. But do you think some people will think of AEW and look at them as more of a hot commodity if they're signing all these free agents that WWE had interest in?
I think so. As in, like, how much, I don't know, because there's, again, like you said, there's people with the mindset of, oh yeah, no matter what they do, it's not going to change anything, right? And that's kind of what I've seen with Mercedes, for example, where people are like, oh, she's going to be making a huge mistake. And it's like, what mistake exactly? Because if she goes back to WWE, she's going to be in the same fucking position she was but when she left, and she's not going to be the top star. Let's be fucking real. They're going to treat her like, oh, yeah, big surprise. Did you bring her to the Royal Rumble? Oh, yeah, that's a big surprise. Like, yo, yeah, you get the pop and all this stuff. But then besides that, it's like, well, you're going to put on the program with Bayley again and go nowhere? Like, what does that – that's not going to do shit. You know what I mean? But people don't see it that way. They don't see what AEW has been doing. They don't see, and it's unfortunate just because, again, like, I don't think shit is as bad as people are making it out to be. But it's like, if you used to fucking go on Twitter, you would think you would think fucking AEW's falling apart like WCW did, and that's not the case at all. WBD loves their relationship with AEW, and remember the perception before that was like, oh well, they're gonna, like, oh no, they're talking to WWE, they might lose their TV deal. I guess it's not all good. But then when Tony Khan said the relationship was good, nobody believed it. But then when WBD put out their thing about the numbers and like stuff they've been doing, it's like, yeah, I think they're just saying that for press. It's like, no, shut the fuck up. Because the reason why I don't buy into that is because when Fox made it clear they weren't renewing their deal with SmackDown, they said why. They said, we felt like the investment, we didn't get back the investment with what we paid for. There's nothing wrong with that. But then it's like, it's just, again, it's this whole perception. And I think big part of it too is because of what Tony Khan does on Twitter. People take that. I think people fall that lean on that weight a little too much. It's like, guys, it's fucking Twitter at the end of the day. Like,
yeah. I'm sorry. I don't make a big deal of that because I lived through Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon in the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, but I think all these signings will, like, it will in a way, but then it's gonna help AEW as well. Like not only presentation wise, but it's gonna create more jobs for people. And that's what I like about it, and that's why AEW, being the wrestling company that it is, it created new jobs. It's done a lot of great things, regardless of what people want to look into. Them getting rid of Punk was a great decision. I still stand by that, and I'm a CM Punk fan, and I still stand by that. I still think it was a great decision.
I do too, because Punk didn't want to be there.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody doesn't want to be there, they don't want to be there. You're not going to keep them. Andrade was the same way. He didn't want to be there, so they're like, all right, we're going to let you go. They didn't bury the guy. They didn't do anything crazy to the guy, right?
No, they put him in the Continental Classic. People were complaining about that.
But that was like the best thing he's done. So I mean, like, but you know what I mean? So again, that's all in the perception of certain things, where it's like, no, like they've been doing great things. Look at Swerve. They turned his career around. Like, look at that. Like,
Tony Storm.
like
the list goes. There's a lot of people that left WWE that have improved their career by signing with AEW.
Right. So I think like what you said, like it will, but then it's like it's gonna be the perception of like how they're gonna handle it. Because I honestly think that even if the AEW, if they do get Kazuchika Okada, it's gonna be frowned upon with a lot of WWE fans. But then the moment they sign them, oh yeah, we got our guy, we got this. But then you see the post from like last year, oh, Okada doesn't know how to cut a promo. Why do they need this guy? But then the moment he signs, oh yeah, they did the same thing with Jade. Yeah. Jade, oh, she can't wrestle for shit. Why would they sign her? Once she signed, all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's your girl. All of a sudden, like we got her. We got the big signing, right? You know what I mean? So I think in that aspect, when it comes to WWE, with their fans, that's why it's pretty toxic, to be honest with you, when it comes to that. With AEW fans, you don't see that. Now, am I saying they're any better? No, because there's a lot of shit they bitch about too that's kind of toxic. But it's just more of like, I don't think it's as bad as WWE fans. But I think in the morale aspect of like talent, the people that actually matter, it will definitely change up for AEW.
Well, we got two more news notes to get to before we get into Rampage and Collision from last week. Wednesday night's episode of AEW Dynamite had the return of two faces that not a lot of people took note of in Chuck Taylor and Rey Fenix. They were in the corners of Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta and Penta El Zero Miedo and Commander, respectively. However, this was not the original plan. In a video posted to social media before the episode aired, it was noted that the plan was for Best Friends versus Lucha Bros, but neither Chuck Taylor nor Rey Fenix were cleared to compete, so changes were made. In a video, Trent noted that Chuck was hurt worse than they thought, and while Chuck said his ankle was jammed up, and Rey Fenix has been out with various injuries since about October. Meanwhile, the cleaner Kenny Omega, we got an update on him as well this week from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. They report that Kenny is currently advertised for the March 20th episode of AEW Dynamite in Toronto. He is on the poster for the event alongside Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, Timeless Tony Storm, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Saraya, Orange Cassidy, Adam Copeland, Christian, and Julia Hart. However, it is unlikely that Kenny Omega will be back by then, as he is still dealing with his diverticulitis, while Davey Boy Smith Jr. was hit with diverticulitis and appendicitis at the same time, then returned not long after. Omega's situation is arguably worse. Smith was able to get surgery right away, which aided in his recovery. Omega, meanwhile, has such severe inflammation that surgery wasn't possible when he announced his leave of absence. At this time, Omega still hasn't had the surgery. A decision will be made about surgery in 7 weeks. If they decide he needs it, it will put him out of action for a longer period of time than originally thought. And there is currently no word on when he will be able to return. Fightful Select adds that he is not factored into current AEW creative plans, and the company has no idea when he'll be back, which is definitely sad. I mean, Kenny Omega is always going to be a missed part of the roster. I'm just gonna say I hope he takes as much time as he needs before he comes back.
Oh yeah, me too. It keeps him away from that stupid ass storyline.
John Callis, good fucking Chris Jericho verse. I hate that shit. We got our good friend Nate Milton in the chat who says, "What's up, fam? Is it a coincidence that the booking seems to be getting back on track now that the buffoonery of MJF isn't taking up all the oxygen? TK still has too much on his plate, though." I'll be honest, Nate. I think that you, Sat, and a lot of other people over exaggerate the MJF dragging down the show. The show had a lot of problems outside of MJF. MJF was very rarely my issues with AEW Dynamite, and I feel like a lot of people need to make a big deal over all the other stuff that Tony Khan gets wrong, and not just MJF, because it seems like that's people's only complaints about everything.
Yeah, and then also that's also kind of on MJF, because MJF is the one that's throwing out the ideas. Like a lot of the stuff has come from MJF, so that's he has to take part of that as well. You could say, oh yeah, you can put on Tony Khan because he's the one that's okaying it, but that's also on MJF himself. I don't know. I don't agree with that.
Nate says TK is his own worst enemy a lot of the time. Bruv, I guess. How you so smart yet so clueless when it comes to public perception? Man needs Herb Edwards to tell him to stay off of Twitter. I don't think him being on Twitter is an issue either. It works. Like we did it. We talked about it last week, Nate. Like this tweet got 8 million views. It did what it wanted to, and that tweet led to WWE possibly ruining the WrestleMania 40 main event. So I'm just saying. Why are we still complaining about Tony Khan being on Twitter? How about we complain about his shit poor booking and just blame it on MJF? It's Tony Khan. He's not a very good booker. It is what it is.
I mean, he's better than Eric Bischoff in booking. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's a low bar, but that is true. But yes, let's move on to. I'm sorry for yelling. I know when people get upset at me when I start yelling or go into my Stephen A. voice, as they say. But we gotta move on to AEW Rampage from this week. What is this glare coming in? There was like a whole big. That was weird. AEW Rampage from last night. Crazy main event. I don't know if you saw it. Josh.
Oh, I did.
Darby Allin beating Jeff Hardy in an insane relaxed rules main event. Darby picking up the win with a wrestling move at that to get the win as well. In the post-match, Darby extended his hand in respect to Jeff Hardy, but Jeff Hardy turned him down and walked away. Heel Jeff Hardy and heel Hardys is actually something I can get behind. You then had Chris Statlander. She defeated Queen Aminata with our boy Stokely Hathaway in her corner in a very good matchup. And then you also had Chris Jericho beat Matt Sydal in a solid bout. Meanwhile, over on AEW Collision last Saturday, you had the House of Black defeating FTR and Daniel Garcia in this match was fantastic. Trios main event. Post-match, FTR and Garcia stood tall against the House of Black after giving a triple shatter machine to Brody King to stand tall in the end to continue that rivalry as well. Adam Copeland had his latest Cope Open, beating Lee Moriarty in a rock-solid bout. Then you had the Mogul Embassy. They picked up a win over Lance Archer and the Righteous to retain the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag team titles, then made their challenge to Bullet Club Gold, which didn't turn out great, as we heard earlier. Deonna Purrazzo picked up her first win in AEW, tapping out Red Velvet in a pretty decent matchup. And Hangman Adam Page put on a low-key banger, a nice little heavyweight slugfest with JD Drake in Norfolk, Virginia, in his home state of Virginia here. And then you had AEW Battle of the Belts 9. Another crazy matchup from AEW this week was that insane street fight for the AEW tag team titles, as you had Ricky Starks and Big Bill retaining against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho, thanks to help from the Don Callis families, Konosuke Takeshita, and Powerhouse Hobbs helping them get the win. You also had Julia Hart. She picked up the win to retain the TBS championship over Anna Jay. And in the main event, Orange Cassidy beat Preston Vance to retain the AEW International Championship. Post-match, Roger Strong and Undisputed Kingdom confronted OC. Any thoughts on Collision, Battle of the Belts, or Rampage from last night?
Rampage. I mean, Darby Allin is he's always trying to outdo his antics. As insane as and great it is to see, I always get worried with Darby's how he's gonna be 10, 15 years from now. I just can't help it to worry about that. It is what it is. But if he's going through it and he's acceptive of that, I can't be against it. No, but it was a good episode of Rampage. I thought it was great. Stokely's fucking entertaining as fuck. Like
that backstage segment, oh my God. I had Jimmy hit me up instantly when he saw it. That backstage segment had me rolling. He was like, you need to be taking a real airline. Why are you taking Soul Plane? I was like, yo, this dude is outlandish. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, he's been great. Like, I don't like ever since he's been given like this platform of like what he could do. Like, yo, he's been great. Collision, I thought was kind of boring, to be honest with you.
It was a one-match show. It was
yeah.
the main.
Yeah, it was just the main event was great. Battle of the Belts wasn't bad either.
I feel like you could, from both shows, all you need to watch is the main event of Collision and the opener from Battle of the Belts.
Yeah, you could say that. Even though I thought like Vance had a nice showing too. Like we got to see more of Vance. That was pretty cool to see. The tag team match was great too. It's just, man, this whole thing with Jericho is just like it's too distracting. Like, even though they kind of did a better job of like, hey, let's start in the outside and, kind of got away from the crowd a lot. I think that's where they kind of did a good job of like not having the crowd affected too much when it comes to that stuff. But it's too noticeable, man. Like, it's unfortunate, but every time he's going to be on TV, that's what's going to happen now until whatever happens, right? No, but I thought it was a good week for AEW. Like I said. I enjoyed Rampage. Rampage was good.
Some good episodes overall. We got Nate in the chat again saying, Brother Nero versus Baby Sting was the sequel to Looper or Gemini Man that we never knew or we needed. Yeah, yo, they have great chemistry with one another. And I'm actually looking forward to now Sting and Darby versus the Hardys possibly on the episode of Dynamite in the next month. I'll be down for that now. We had some news coming out of those shows, though, some new AEW signings, but let's talk about a former AEW star as we have an update on Andrade El Idolo following his departure from AEW. We have an update as according to a report from Fightful, while Andrade originally signed with AEW for a 2-year deal in 2021, he had more time added on due to his layoff due to injury. As a result, that ended up extending his deal through the end of 2023. AEW talents reportedly said that Andrade often spoke openly about his contract status and that his contract would be up in or around the end of last year. Multiple talents also said that Andrade had mentioned that he was planning to stay in AEW and considering another contract, but by the end of the deal, he was telling other wrestlers he was planning to return to WWE. Andrade El Idolo is said to have informed AEW that he was finishing up with the company just days before World's End, where he faced Miro in a losing effort. Several people in AEW reportedly expected Andrade to appear on WWE programming the week after he left AEW. If Andrade had signed a new WWE contract, he has not yet made an appearance. While Tony Khan left the door open for Andrade to return, several people that worked around the former WWE US champion said that it was a frustrating process, his departure from the company. Additionally, Fightful's report notes that Charlotte Flair pushed Andrade to return to WWE. Also, Andrade is said to have pushed for his father-in-law, Ric Flair, to join AEW. And then he left the cancer there, and now he's leaving. While WWE sources would not confirm Andrade is on his way back, others have admitted that he is likely to be there soon. Andrade previously left WWE in March 2021. After requesting his release, he later debuted in AEW in June of that same year. So, Andrade, what number will he be in the Royal Rumble this year, Josh?
I'm gonna say number 8, so he's gonna get eliminated very quick.
He'll get eliminated by Rey Mysterio or somebody along those lines. But yeah, Andrade's going to be in the Rumble for sure, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool, but it's like, cool, I guess.
Lucha Vlog had some report this week reporting a new sign-in to AEW of Black Taurus. He has signed a contract, but possibly not under the name and gimmick. While Taurus did appear for Ring of Honor and AEW under the character, it seems AAA owns the rights to the name. This may be a similar situation to that of Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix, who use those names when in AAA, but wrestle as Penta El Zero M and Rey Fenix in AEW. Either way, neither AEW nor Tony Khan have confirmed the signing at this time. Taurus hasn't appeared on AEW/Ring of Honor television since the end of December. And according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, AAA has made things difficult for Taurus, and this may have damaged the relationship on both sides. AAA's side is that Taurus was an opening match wrestler in Arena Mexico before getting his name and gimmick. He was then pushed and gained popularity. He wrestled in AAA as Taurus from 2015 through 2016 before going to Lucha Libre Elite as Black Taurus. He then registered the name and attire before returning to AAA in 2018. This led to the popularity in the U.S., particularly after he began making appearances for PWG, and he then became a regular for Impact. Taurus' side is that he asked for more money since AAA told him their market couldn't support a raise. He wanted to sign with AEW. AEW tried to work out a deal to keep his name and gimmick, but AAA sources claimed Taurus was against that. Instead of fighting legal battle, Tony Khan elected to make a change. And on that note, another recent signing, Brian Keefe has officially been signed by AEW according to Wrestling Observer newsletter. It's not yet sure if it's a year deal or a per appearance deal at this point. And one final note for AEW before we wrap up the converse with some Ring of Honor. Some bad news if you're a Keith Lee fan, as it was revealed in a post on his private account via House of Wrestling that Keith Lee will require 2 surgeries coming up, unfortunately, regarding his injury that he suffered before AEW's World's End. He wasn't cleared for the event and pulled from his match with Swerve Strickland. He will now be getting 2 surgeries in order to get his health problem fixed. He later revealed he had been trying to work through an injury. He wrote, "Took roughly 19 years, but I guess it's my turn. Time to get fixed. Here's to double surgeries. Clear, certainly one way to start 2024. No other details were provided on what type of injury he has, but man, that's Keith Lee, man. It's just been a rough break after rough break since the end of 2022.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, it's crazy because he's a talented dude, man. He's a great wrestler. I just think, you know, when it comes to his size, unfortunately, that's going to happen. The style he wrestles and his size, you know, and he's getting up there in age is a bad combination.
It's the double whammy, of course. It hits different, man. It's rough. But let's finish off all the conversations with some Ring of Honor television, Ring of Honor TV this week. The show featured a bunch of title matches this week, as I think they had about 3 or 4 title matches on the show. The main event saw El Hijo del Vikingo defeating Action Andretti in a fun main event to retain the AAA Mega Championship. Meanwhile, you had The Undisputed Kingdom defeated Iron Savages in a decent tag team matchup to retain the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Cal Fletcher beat Christopher Daniels in a solid bout for the Ring of Honor television championship. The best match on the show was Claudio Castagnoli defeating Brian Keith in a banger that really got BK over. And then you had Billy Starks, Kira Hogan, Lady Frost, Queen Amiata, and beat Robin Renegade, Layla Hirsch, Rachel Ellering, and Taya Valkyrie in an 8-woman ROH Women's TV title preview for the tournament. So some good stuff on ROH TV, some good stuff on AEW TV this week. A good week for the Converse, but we got to move on because we are not even going to go into the WWE land yet, Josh. Because like I said, we had a bunch of shows from this past week. And one of the big shows that we previewed last week with Top Guy JJ and Miss Chrissy Love was TNA Hard to Kill. TNA Hard to Kill, what a show it was. And a lot of that came down to the main event, which saw Moose defeating Alex Shelley in a great main event matchup to win the TNA Heavyweight Championship. But post-match, the world was talking after the debut of the wanted man, Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, debuting and laying out the new TNA Heavyweight Champion, giving him a zigzag before ripping off his shirt to reveal a TNA shirt as he was the big signing of the night. Jordan Grace beat Trinity in a very good match to win the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Speaking of the Knockouts division, Giselle Shaw defeated Tasha Steelz, Danny Luna, Jordy Threat, Alicia Edwards, and Zaya Brookside in a good Knockouts Ultimate X match to become #1 contender. Speaking of the Knockouts division again, the former Dana Brooke, now known as Ash by Elegance, made her debut on the show before the TNA Knockouts World Championship matchup. Absolutely love the vignette on TNA Impact. By the way, I had to mention that vignette was like a perfume ad. Yes, give me more of this. This is not like Timeless Tony Storm, you idiots who see two blondes and say they're still in the same. So stupid. So fucking stupid.
Yeah,
why do y'all always have to shit on Ash? Y'all always shit on Ash on social media. It doesn't make sense.
I did not get no Tony Storm.
Not at all.
And I was like, what? Like, what? And I feel bad for her. Like, I feel bad for Ash just because she fucking tries. She might not be the best worker, right? She might not be the best, but she tries. She's putting in effort. She obviously loves the business, and I was like, this is something different for her. This is something that WWE didn't even try to do. You know what I mean?
They never would have tried this for her.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like, this is something new for her. And I thought the presentation was great just because it's like, oh shit, this is something new. I've never seen this from Dana Brooke. Like, let's see where this goes. So it's like, even the name, right? Might not be the most catchiest name. It's something different. And I think it fits her. So I just think people just need to, like, just fucking wait and see. Like, just let her. She doesn't do anything to nobody. You know what I mean? Like,
not at all.
Like, just let her do her job. Like, come on, guys.
They always picking on poor Ash. It don't make sense to me. But going back to Hard to Kill in the Knockouts division, you had Decay getting the win over MK Ultra to become the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. ABC beat the Rascals, Grizzle Young Vets, and Speedball Mike Bailey and Laredo Kid in a very fun 4-way to retain the TNA World Tag Team titles. Josh Alexander defeated Alex Hammerstone in an awesome hoss fight. That was a great match, but the best match of the night to me was Chris Sabin defeating Kushida and Elio Del Vikingo in a spectacular 3-way to retain the X Division Championship. What a show from TNA. I'm really excited for TNA right now after Hard to Kill.
That was a great fucking card. Like, when we were doing the thing, I was seeing like the card itself. I was like, holy shit, like, this is great. And I felt like they delivered. Even with like all the news of like, Trinity leaving, it wasn't a distraction. I thought that was really good. I thought it was a really good show. And Namath, I was a little surprised. I didn't expect him to be the signing just because of the whole New Japan stuff, like him showing up. So I kind of was just like, I don't. But I thought it was a fair presentation. It was pretty good. People got into it. The whole like ripping up the shirt, he's showing he's TNA. I thought it was cool. It wasn't bad. It was better than I expected. Could be a new thing for him. Like overall, it was a great show. Hammerstone, like man, he's a fucking beast. I'm happy to see like he's getting some type of like, on a bigger stage because MLW is not going to get you to that point of your career. So to see him like even with like there's no official word yet if he's signed with them or not because they would have announced it, but he's not signed with them yet. This will be a good signing for TNA. Hammerstone being in, that would be a great signing. That was a fun matchup. The fucking triple threat match, I'm like, God damn. Even that one too. It was like, yo, like, I thought Kushida was gonna win, but I was fine with Saban winning. I thought that was a good call. Like just like on hindsight, it was a good call. Moose winning was surprising. I was like, oh shit, even though I've never been against Moose, I think he's a great athlete. He's gotten way better. Every year, he seems like he gets better.
And that match was great. I was surprised how good that match was.
Yeah, he's gotten better every year too. And so I'm not against it. Great overall show.
100% agree with you there. And then they followed up TNA Hard to Kill with one of the best episodes of Impact in like forever. And a lot of that comes down to, yes, one of the very best matches of the fucking year. I am telling everybody, go out of your way to watch Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay 2, because I think even by the end of this year, this is happening in January, we will be talking about this as not only one of the best matches of the year, but one of the best TNA matches ever. Like, it's nearly 30 minutes, some spectacular sequences, hard-hitting strikes, great story being told, as it's kind of like a young Kurt Angle versus a young AJ Styles, and both guys are TNA kids, so them being in the main event of the first TNA Impact return just meant so much to them, and Josh picking up the win with the C4 spike in that 30-minute epic. What a match. Nick Nemeth talked for the first time on Impact, got into a confrontation with Steve Macklin, laying him out. You had an X Division scramble. This was like 6 minutes of just so much fun, nonstop action. Jake Sutton defeated Laredo Kid, Trey Miguel, Speedball Mike Bailey, Kushida, and Elio Del Vikingo. And the Grizzled Young Vets picked up the win over the TNA Originals. Post-match, Frankie Kazarian turned on Eric Young. But, man, Will Ospreay, Josh Alexander, spectacular. I love that match. I've watched it twice now. It's amazing.
I gotta see it, but I'm not surprised. Alexander's a fucking beast. Like, I've been very happy to see like shit has come together the last 2-3 years from him. It's been fucking great to see. Just because like on Facebook, I followed him for years, so to see where he's gotten from then to now is like it's fucking incredible to see. So I'm happy to see like shit's working out.
Yeah, you love to see it. You love to see it for good people as well. That's always nice to see. Some news for TNA. Of course, there is Trinity, as previously reported. It's believed Trinity will be finishing up with TNA. She had her final matchups in Orlando last night, and it's going to be one on tonight's taping as well. She will be heading back to WWE. It was believed that she would be done after Hard to Kill and the subsequent TV taping, but that is not the case. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Trinity will wrap up her time at the Orlando tapings tonight. And it should be noted that with the timing, she would be likely free to appear at the Royal Rumble. What number will Trinity be in the Women's Royal Rumble match?
I'm gonna say late 20s. I'm gonna say between late 20s or early 20s. I think within that for between 20 and 30, she's gonna be.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'd say 27. 27. She comes out with the afro.
That's a good number.
For Trinity being at Hard to Kill, of course, her friends was in full force. Mercedes Moné was in attendance at last Saturday's Hard to Kill, but that doesn't mean she's in talks with the company. Moné and Bailey were both in attendance at the pay-per-view. Bailey is, of course, under WWE contract, but Moné is a free agent, and some were speculating it could be her that signs with TNA. PW Insider reports that that is not the case, and that, like Bailey, she was there just to support Trinity in her Knockouts Championship match against Grace, and of course took some pictures with Jordan Grace as well. So that's always nice. But the big signing was in fact Nick Nemeth, and Nick Nemeth is really the wanted man in New Japan, in TNA. And he had an interview this week with Sportskeeda by WrestleBinge, and he was asked about going to AEW after making his appearances in New Japan and TNA. And he said, I am very focused on New Japan and TNA right now. I have seen a few different people on both of those rosters that I am blown away with, not doing moves, being awesome at wrestling. Some of them have bigger names. Some of them don't have a name that's really well known or all over the world yet. There's a handful, and there's one or two in New Japan, and there's 5 or 6 at TNA that I have been watching very closely. I famously don't watch wrestling, but I have been watching and going, this person is one big break away from being the next up-and-coming thing. How can I help them, but also make the show awesome? Nick Nemeth's TNA debut at Hard to Kill was a big milestone on YouTube as well. Nemeth made his debut for the company at TNA Hard to Kill, and the YouTube video of the clip has surpassed 1 million views. As of this recording, I believe it's at 1.1 million. And that is far and away the most viewed YouTube video in the TNA Wrestling YouTube channel in recent weeks. By comparison, the next closest over the past week was the most surprising debuts and returns in 2023, and that did 307,000. And Nemeth is not done quite yet, Josh, because Nemeth is the wanted man in New Japan. He is the wanted man in TNA. How about being the wanted man in GCW, as he was challenged by none other than his former and WWE co-worker and rival, Matt Cardona, to face him in GCW. And apparently it will go down next month, February 24th in Los Angeles, the coldest winter ever. Matt Cardona versus Nick Nemeth. What the fuck? Who turned the channel to 2011? What do you think about Nick Nemeth's run so far in 2024 as the wanted man?
Better presentation than what he's done with WWE, I guess, like the last few years. No, I'm just joking. But I think I'm kind of not joking at the same time, because it's a good resurgence for him. When the list of releases came out, he was obviously the biggest name from it just because of his body of work and what he's done in the past.
Yeah.
TNA is a good move for him just because like he's going to be presented as a bigger star there. So I think that's on hindsight, that's the smartest move. But then when it comes to that, he gets to do other things like the GCW stuff. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Just because, like, it's still kind of like crazy, right? It's like, fuck, yeah. You got Dolph Ziggler and GCW. The fuck? Because we always assume.
I'm still stunned by Matt. I'm still recovering from Matt Cardona 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just more the fact that just because, like, with Dolph Ziggler, like, we thought he was in a position where he was like comfortable. He was on cruise control, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay here until I retire. But then when you hear like his interviews, when you hear like what he has to say, that wasn't the case. Like he wanted to do more, and it wasn't there. The opportunities weren't there anymore. But this is a good move. This is I think it's a fantastic move for him. He's gonna get a shitload of bookings. He already has. But like we're talking about like Mustafa Ali and like both of those guys have benefited.
Killing it so far.
They've benefited from this shit because it's like not only the name, but everybody knows like if you book Dolph, you're gonna get a great showcase. He's gonna put whoever you need over, or he's gonna put him over. So it's a good showcase. Like it's a good signing all around.
100%. Couldn't agree more with you about that. But yeah, I think that's a lot of fun that they're doing that matchup at GCW. Going to have the freedom to do the match they always wanted to do, probably as well. So that's
There's gonna be a lot of WWE fuckery with that match too. Like,
oh yeah,
because we see what Matt Cardona. I wonder what he's gonna do. That's gonna be the fun part. I think about it. I think the match is gonna be great, but I think like the antics of it is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be even funner, yeah. We had WWE SmackDown last night. We're gonna get into that. I do see we got a bunch of comments in the live chat for us to get to about TNA. We got Nikki Boy. He says, Sid, that is a perfect comparison that I didn't even think of. Definitely had vibes of Kurt versus AJ. Yeah, that match was awesome. Awesome. The match of TNA, says Eric Isaacs. We also got Nate, who says the return of the GOAT, D'Angelo Williams. Yes, at TNA Hard to Kill. He's a part of the system. What do you think about the system, the new stable of Brian Myers, Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Alicia Edwards?
Pretty cool. I just want to see where it goes, but it's a nice pairing.
I agree. And then we got a super chat donation from our good friend Will Chisholm. He says, do you think she will make it to the Final Four? Talking about Trinity. Final Four, I think Bailey and Becky will be the final two. So yeah, I would throw Trinity in there and then maybe Bianca.
Yeah, I think so too, because like if you want her back and this is a big spot for her. So I think you kind of have to do it to see how serious you are. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to do it.
That is true. Your hands are tied, guys. You got to kind of go full throttle with this one,
which is fine because it's like the Final Four doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. All that matters is who's gonna win it. So I mean, I think Becky's gonna win it. Yeah. So
I think Bailey's gonna win. I think Bailey's the more interesting story.
Shit.
The show, you had SmackDown last night. The show featured some more of build-up for the Royal Rumble Fatal 4-Way as he had a contract signing where everyone came out to sign except for Roman Reigns per Paul Heyman.
Of course.
Because he didn't look at the contract. Aldis threatened to make the match a triple threat for the vacant Undisputed Universal Championship at the Rumble. After some talking from Heyman and a brawl breaking out between LA Knight and AJ Styles, Randy Orton warned Heyman he was going to hit Roman Reigns with an RKO. This all led to AJ Styles versus LA Knight later in the night, getting broken up by Solo Sikoa, who said he would take care of things for Roman Reigns earlier in the night, and he did just that, delivering Samoan spikes to both men before challenging Orton to come out for the main event. But unfortunately, he got caught with an RKO to lose that main event matchup. Styles Knight came out after getting rid of Jimmy Uso. A brawl breaks out before all three men as Orton lays out Knight and Styles with RKOs, but he is met with a Superman punch from Roman Reigns, who winds up finally signing the contract for the Fatal 4-Way. He goes for a spear on Randy Orton, but he gets caught with the RKO. Meanwhile, you had Logan Paul as the guest on the KO show, where he credited Kevin Owens for starting his WWE career when he stunned him at WrestleMania 37. After an entertaining back and forth between the two, Logan Paul sucker punched Kevin Owens after Kevin Owens said that he would get up from any punch that Logan Paul can throw. And of course, Owens did get to his feet, got into a brawl with Logan Paul after taking off his cast, and then he used that to his advantage, hitting his bare hand into the ring post, re-injuring his injured hand. This was a really good segment on the show. Legado del Fantasma picked up the win over the LWO in trios action. Meanwhile, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter were followed and being watched by the Damage Control as they picked up a win over the Unholy Union. That name fucking sucks. I just want to to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. And the most important part of the damn show, Pete Dunne is back. The Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne, gone is Butch. The Bruiserweight is back, and he's with Tyler Bate as they picked up a win over Pretty Deadly. What did you think about SmackDown last night?
SmackDown was okay.
It was a show.
Yeah, I mean, like it was okay, I guess. I mean, I get they're building up to the Rumble and all that stuff. It was, I mean, it is what it was. But it was great to see the Pete Dunne stuff. I thought that was like important. I kind of thought they were gonna kind of continue like the video because like I thought that the video stuff was like a great segue. I thought they were gonna kind of continue that just because WWE tends to do that. They tend to drag it until like their big moment. So I was kind of surprised that they did it, and then there's like fuck it, he's Pete Dunne again.
Yeah, they just said fuck it. It's gonna be this week. We don't care.
Yeah. So but in regards to that, I know somebody on Facebook. I mean, I said Facebook, on Twitter, the Public Enemies podcast are like, oh, thank you, Triple H. Like, you did the right thing, whatever. But I'm like, you guys realize that it took this man over a fucking year to change his name when everybody else got their fucking shit back, like, within
immediately.
Like, what the fuck? Like, are we going to forget that? And I said that. I was like, yeah, and I wrote in response, yeah, it's great that it finally went to his table. Like, it finally got to his desk so he could finally change it.
They can finally like do some work, like do something. What the fuck? What are we doing?
Yeah, but it was great. It was a great presentation. I liked it, and then also, even the aspect of it because you saw Pretty Deadly's reaction to it. They were fucking frightened. So it did its job.
Yeah, I love their little promo afterwards. It was like, we prepared for Butch. Who is this? They brought a whole new person. Oh my god, they're great. They're great. I love Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly is very underrated. I do enjoy a lot of their stick and the stuff that they do. It's very, very fun, very humorous. So, got to give them show them some love here. But I'm glad Pete Dunne is back, and really Dunne and Bate could become like the new top babyface tag team on SmackDown.
They could be. Yeah, they could be.
Potential.
Yeah. Yeah, they really wanted to. Like, they don't realize. I'm like, yo, you got two of the best workers on your fucking roster. They got. I was like, you got it. Like, don't fuck it up.
Just give them the DIY push. DIY, slow and steady, building them up. They're getting over with the crowds little by little, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. But well, unfortunately, we have some more big news to discuss, Josh, on this show. And yes, it's about that time to talk about Seth freaking Rollins as he decided to have a match with Jinder Mahal. And apparently, he is injured because of it. Tony Khan was right all along. It appears the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins hurt his knee during the bout with Jinder Mahal on Raw. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez had some additional information on Wrestling Observer Radio. Rollins appeared to have tweaked or hit his knee hard after a springboard moonsault on Mahal during their matchup, and he was favoring his knee. Alvarez reported that Rollins was able to walk on his hurt knee backstage. Meltzer stated that Rollins will be getting his knee checked out with an MRI, and the full nature and severity of the potential injury is still not known. Meltzer added that he was told what happened with Rollins' knee could be something minor or it could be something worse. The extent of the injury won't be known until the MRIs come back. While Rollins does not have a matchup for Royal Rumble, an injury right before WrestleMania season could be a huge setback as he has been in the midst of a brewing feud with CM Punk. Fightful Select reports that Rollins suffered a torn MCL and a partially torn meniscus, and it is currently unknown if he will need surgery, but the hope is that he can avoid that. It is not yet known how WWE will handle this when it comes to TV and creative plans. The site reports that as of Monday night, Rollins had told people backstage that he didn't believe it was an ACL tear, with one WWE higher-up telling the outlet, considering he's powerbombed a 300-pound man with a torn ACL, we think he understands what that might feel like. Several people in the company praised Rollins for his toughness and resolve, and both during Monday's match and immediately after, Rollins has had a number of knee injuries in his career and has worked through several of them previously. WWE has not yet released an official statement on Rollins' injury, but they have announced that he will be on Raw to address his future. What do you think about Seth freaking Rollins possibly injured right before a WrestleMania main event with CM Punk? Do you foresee Rollins having to miss some time, or do you think it will be similar to his last injury during Mania season where he's able to come back for the show?
So before anything, I just want to say, Tony Khan knew what he was doing. He injured Seth Rollins. That's like very obvious. I guess he did his job. He was right about gender. That's crazy. Injured by gender. That's, man. You know what I mean? Like,
he didn't get hindered. He got injured.
Like you decided to pull this bullshit match that didn't need to happen. This fucking match did not need to happen, and the man got injured. Like, you know what I mean? But besides that, it's a tricky situation just because we know when Seth gets injured, we know like his determination. So that's never a question. That's never going to come into question. Like, oh yeah, I already know Seth is going to try everything possible to get to Mania. Why? Because this is his best shot to main event one of the nights. That's the main goal. We've seen this man come back from 2 major knee injuries in the ACL, and he tore another muscle when he wrestled Kane. When he tore his ACL,
yeah,
he came back in 5 months. You're talking about an injury that you're out 8, depending on the situation, you're out 8 to 12 months. He came back in 5 months. The situation with his injuries, torn MCL. I had a torn MCL, and I was out of work for 7 to 8 weeks. I was out of work, and that's just me being a regular motherfucker who doesn't do anything athletic. So I think he'll come back sooner. You know, that's my, you know, again, I don't know how the human body works, but that's my guess. Like, if he could avoid surgery, MCL tears, you could avoid surgeries. So that's, when it comes to torn muscles, that's the best case scenario. That at least is not a torn ACL, forget about it. You got to get that fixed. MCL, depending if it's not a full tear, which I don't think it's a full tear. A full tear, obviously, you got to get it patched up. I don't think it's a full tear. The only tricky one would be the meniscus. The meniscus it's a weird injury because when I tore my MCL. When I went to my doctor's visit, like when I was going through all that stuff, the doctor told me himself he was more worried about the meniscus because the meniscus it is a major muscle, but also depending on how bad it is, you could be out 2 to 4 weeks with a torn meniscus, or you could be out 6 to 8 months. So that's why it's a tricky. That muscle is tricky. There's no guarantee. But from what I saw, I think there was a report saying like about a matter of weeks. If you could get him out for about 7 to 8 weeks, you might be good because you don't really need him to wrestle. You could just have him cut promos. You could have him build up that match.
I think it's going to depend if he's able to travel.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that's gonna hinder anything. No pun intended. But
you meant that pun.
But again, if it's a matter of weeks, Seth is coming back. That's where I'm gonna stand by. I think he's coming back. He's gonna find everything possible to come back. If he doesn't come back, you know, it will be unfortunate. But if he can't come back, then I think he should take his time. You know what I mean? Like, if the timetable is unrealistic, don't rush it. But if there's a possible way you can, he's gonna find every way. But now it's gonna be a situation where, like, where did he go from here creatively? If he has to drop the title, where do you go from here?
It's a difficult situation completely. We do have a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Santo. Thank you, Santo. Appreciate you dropping in the chat. He says, what's up to the entire THH fam, THH universe? I hope all are well. Thank you so much. We hope you are well as well, Santo. Give us your thoughts on all this Seth Rollins news. I agree with you. It's going to all depend on if he's able to travel. I am going to lay out the hope that he's able to come back. However, I don't know if you can wait with the World Heavyweight Championship. If you could just keep the title on him for the next 2 months without him defending the title and, you know, just build up for WrestleMania. I kind of feel you want to leave the title in a place that, just in case Seth is not able to come back, you've already handled that situation, and you're not trying to handle that situation at WrestleMania. I think that Monday, if he's able to, without any further damage to his knee, you have Damian Priest cash in on Monday when he does his address of his future. You have Priest cash in, he wins the title, and then you could do whatever you want to do, whether it's Punk versus Priest, Punk versus McIntyre, whatever you want to do. You have two options. You either have Priest cash in, and that's how he loses, or you have him relinquish the title and you put the title up in the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, and you have Drew or Punk win that.
I like the second scenario better just because with Priest, and then how Triple H does things, obviously there's a plan to that. I know Triple H hasn't been in a situation yet where he's had to like hot shot anything at the moment. I don't know, because the problem you fall with that is like you have Priest cash in, he's gonna be transitional as fuck, and I don't think that's what they want with Priest. I think they want him to be in a prominent position where he wins the title or he loses it. I don't know what they want, but they want it to be significant, and I think that if he wins it, he's not. And I was telling somebody this because somebody did DM me yesterday talking about it. They're like, "Oh, I think Priest is going to cash in and then he's going to be the champion." I told him I don't think that's happening just because Priest is not going to be the champion going into Mania. And I was like, that the problem is that if you do it too soon, you're going to disrupt the shit that you're trying to do with, I guess, with Judgment Day, whatever the case may be. I was like, I wouldn't do that just because like it throws away everything. Like at that moment, like you had him right. It's supposed to mean something to cash in, but then if you do that, it's gonna be thrown away too much. But that's just my opinion on that. But again, I do like the second scenario. You either have somebody win at the Rumble, like you put the thing up for the Rumble, then you kind of have a expectation of who's gonna win it. Maybe it'll be Drew or Punk. And then you have Punk going into champion at WrestleMania, or you have somebody else win it and then have Punk still win it at WrestleMania. I like those scenarios a little bit better just because, like, again, I think they have a plan for Priest. I wouldn't put him in a position where he's transitional as fuck, because no matter what, people could try to convince me he's not going into Mania as a champion.
No. He's not. I just thought it was a nice thought to get
no.
the title run.
I get it, like on that aspect of like just getting the belt off of him. Like I get it in that aspect, and you want a champion, like, because once you relinquish it, it's like fuck. What do we do from here? So I actually still get the aspect. I just don't. When it comes to Priest himself, I just don't know what they're gonna do with that.
And yes, and Belle's on to something here. She says, "Hey guys, just popping in. I hate to say this because I think he takes too much time off, but between Seth and MJF, Roman might be on to something here. Hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst." Yeah, we've seen this many a time. These workhorse champions, Kenny Omega in 2021, MJF last year, Seth Rollins this year. These workhorse runs, they tear these guys down. Like who hasn't tear down? Hasn't tear down Gunther or Orange Cassidy. I'm just throwing that. I'm just throwing it out. Orange Cassidy, they made that the story of his title run. That was That's why I didn't mention him. I wasn't going to mention Seth until the real injury, but the story of his title run is that the title run has been tearing him down as well. So here we are.
And it was Seth. With Seth too. Remember they threw out that thing with Nakamura, like, "Oh yeah, you have a broken spine or some shit," and then now it's like, "Damn, now you got an actual injury." So like,
damn it! What are we talking? WWE Raw, where this all started with the Seth Rollins story. Yes, with him defeating Jinder Mahal to retain the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event. What turned out to be a really good ending to the matchup. Not a good match. Ending. It was really good. It was really good. Seth Rollins retaining. Cody Rhodes kicked off the show, having an in-ring confrontation with Drew McIntyre, and great opening promo between these two guys. Drew's character is just on the money right now, and Cody played off of him very well here. DIY picked up a big win over the Judgment Day's JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio. Got really over with the crowd. The match of the night on this show. Speaking of the Judgment Day, R-Truth was making a lot of money and giving it out to his Judgment Day brethren as he faced Finn Balor and Damian Priest alongside The Miz with the Awesome Truth. But it was the Judgment Day who picked up the win after Priest turned on Truth. And then you had Ludwig Kaiser defeating Xavier Woods via DQ in another pretty good matchup in this Imperium versus New Day rivalry. Post-match, Woods stood tall after tossing some steel steps at Kaiser's head. I've been really enjoying this New Day Imperium feud, but I needed to end with Big E returning to face Gunther at WrestleMania. That's what I need, people. That's what I need.
And I think that would be a good name for him to end the streak. That would be a good, prominent name to, to end that title reign. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I feel like that's where they're going with. I feel like that's kind of the road they're going with. That they're going to bring Big E back. So
yeah, I hope
we'll see.
That's the point of this whole New Day Imperium rivalry right now.
Yeah, because anything else, I think is kind of like, okay, what we did all that shit for. But besides that, I mean, Raw was okay too. It was a little bit better than SmackDown.
Raw was much better than SmackDown.
Yeah, that's what I think. It was better than SmackDown. But I know they teased the whole thing with Cody and Punk's face down. I don't know what's that going to be about. It'll be cool to see.
It's going to be a great promo exchange.
Yeah, it'll be a great promo. It's just, I don't know, just because like we've seen what Punk has done with the heels, and the heels have kind of gotten the upper hand on the promos. I mean, Seth is not heel. I mean, but like we've seen like some, Drew has gotten the upper hand on the promos. Seth has gotten the upper hands. This one is like, what's going to be said? That's going to be like, who's going to get the upper hand? It's kind of weird because it's like both of them are too clean cut to like, hey, who's going to put who over? You know what I mean? But the main event, I mean, it was what I expected. Jinder is not a great wrestler. And I felt like they kind of try to overbook it a little too much just because they kind of knew the flaws of Jinder. Like, they had seized Priest and then all these motherfuckers come out.
Drew, Indusher, the briefcase.
It was just like, it was a little too overbooked for me. I was like, bro, like, you're not going to cover anything with Jinder. Like, no matter what, it's like, it's not going to be a good performance. It's just, he is what he is. He's a stiff rest hold performer that's stuck in like the 80s and 90s. That's just what he is. Nothing exciting. And then he fucking, I mean, obviously what the injury happened, the moonsault, I believe that happened during the moonsault, but because it was in the Jinder fucking match, it still looks bad. Like that was the whole point. Still looks bad. Like, I don't know. The match didn't need to happen.
No.
I think WWE kind of just baited. They got into the hype with Tony Khan's Twitter. I mean, I could be wrong. That's just my take on it.
Nah, I think they were already gonna do Jinder in some type of big match.
Yeah, I just didn't think it was gonna happen this soon. I don't think it was gonna happen this soon. Like, no. I think it happened this soon because of the noise it made on social media, and then you forced it, and guess what? Your fucking champion is injured.
And now you're fucked. News coming out of Monday Night Raw. We got a big name that could be on his way back, Josh, as we have a Brock Lesnar update. Dave Meltzer reported on Tuesday's Wrestling Observer Radio that Brock Lesnar is expected to be back on WWE programming soon, and it could be any time now. He added that the former WWE champion's return might also happen next week, and that WWE held off this week due to competition from Monday Night Football, which they don't have anymore, and the Emmys. Meltzer also speculated that Lesnar's return could take place after the Rumble. Meltzer previously reported in November that Lesnar would be back for the 2024 Royal Rumble, which is next weekend. And Brock Lesnar has not appeared since his match with Cody Rhodes last August at WWE SummerSlam. Cody won the match, and after which Lesnar raised his hand, showing him respect, ending their months-long rivalry. Who do you see facing Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 40?
That's a good question because I don't know. Who did he face again last year? He faced
Omos.
Oh my God. I just remember that. I just can't. That kind of like just came back in the wave. I just came back in the wave.
Erase that from your memory. But I'm gonna say Solo Sikoa.
Ooh, that would be pretty decent. I mean, I would like that compared to like. I know somebody mentioned Gunther out, and I told everybody I shut that down real quick, and I was just like, nope, Brock is not. He's not going after no mid-card title. They've built this man up for over 20 years to be the world champion. All he's done is gone to world champion. So I'm like,
it's like Okada. He's the Okada. That's why I compared.
Yeah.
I compared the Okada booking. See, full circle. We did full circle here, Josh. I said, Okada needs to be booked like Brock in AEW, and Brock has basically been the Okada equivalent for WWE.
Yeah, so it's like it's not gonna happen. That'll be a fun matchup. It'd be interesting. I'll be intrigued. It's not happening because this dude still has the belt, and Brock doesn't go after mid-card title, so that's not happening. But I like Solo. I think that's a good. That could go either way. Like because even if you imagine he fucking puts him over like the way Cena did. I mean, that would be kind of insane. Then you have no choice but like fuck. Like we got this big star in Solo. What do we do from here? Because he just beat the GOAT Cena, and now he took out Brock. So that has to mean something. That has to do something.
And Solo's gonna need that because he has done jack and shit since they did that John Cena squash.
Bro, it's been like downhill.
They just didn't do anything with him. They never followed up with that shit. WWE NXT this week, the final show we missed. The show featured Roxanne Perez winning a #1 contenders battle royal and fatal 4-way to advance to face Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Vengeance Day. Meanwhile, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic continued with Trick and Mello picking up a victory over Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. Meanwhile, LWO made their opinions on NXT to beat Chase U for them to advance in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And news coming out of NXT, unfortunately, it's some bad news as Cora Jade is out with another injury. After just coming back to NXT at Deadline, she suffered another injury at a house show that could keep her out of action for up to a year. I want to send our best thoughts, our well wishes to Cora Jade, because that has to be such a heartbreaking injury to suffer just a month after returning from a long layoff.
Bro, and it's like, is it me or does it feel like something always happens when she's about to get like?
She is the greatest NXT Women's Championship honey dicking I think I've ever seen. Like, she seemed like she was so close. She seemed like she was going to win this battle royal and beat Lyra at Vengeance Day, and then suffers a torn ACL.
Unfortunate, man. Damn fortunate. She got the new two friends, and hasn't worked out so far, unfortunately.
God damn. But yes, we have finally made it to the end of our podcast here. So before we wrap things up, Chrissy Love is not here, but we're gonna do her favorite segment of the show, Match of the Week. And yeah, this one is an easy but a hard job to determine what was the best match of the week. But I have my 5 for this week. Honorable mentions to Joe versus Hook, Moose versus Shelly, and Kingston versus Kid from Battle in the Valley. Number 5 for me this week, from Hard to Kill, Chris Sabin versus Kushida versus El Del Vikingo. Awesome 3-way matchup there for the X Division Championship. Number 4 for me this week, from Collision last week, House of Black versus Daniel Garcia and FTR. fantastic trios matchup, a lot of physical action, great little moments like the middle fingers and the sit down position and stuff like that. Number 3 for me, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. These two guys, their worst match is this match, and it's 4 3/4 stars. That's all I number 2 for me this week, man. This is really hard between 1 and 2, but I don't. And maybe it's recency bias. I will admit to it if it is. I'm gonna go with Shingo Takagi versus Jon Moxley at number 2. I rated the match 5 stars. Great matchup. Felt like one of Moxley's best matchups. Shingo going into Moxley's playing field and bringing his escalation, his pacing to it, just made it, amplified it, and made it greater than the usual Moxley weapon bloody brawls. And any other week, that would be number 1. But number 1 for me this week, Will Ospreay versus Josh Alexander from TNA Impact. It's the feeling. It's the feeling that gave me. Like the Shawn Moxley Shingo, I get that feeling where I'm like, this match is 5 stars. I always get that feeling during the matchup. This was an extra feeling because it was like, man, these guys are not only doing it and having this spectacular matchup, they're doing it on TNA's first night back as Impact. So it felt bigger. And then the Scott D'Amore speech afterwards amplified it even more. That made it feel like this. I just watched a top 3 TNA matchup. There's Joe Daniels and Styles. There's Ospreay and Speedball from last year, and now there's Ospreay Alexander 2. This is the top 3 TNA match of all time. So number 1 for me this week. Josh?
Yeah, I wish I could have it number 1. I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't give it on default yet. But top 5. I'm gonna go number 5. Number 5, I'm gonna go with the triple threat. X Division title match. I'm gonna go. That's my number 5. Number 4. Number 4. I'm gonna go with. Number 4. I'm gonna go with the triple. What was it? The trios match. House of Black and FTR and Daniel Garcia. I'm gonna go with that. Number 3. I did rank this a little bit higher, Joe versus Hook, just because I love the presentation behind it. Everything, it did its job all around. Good match, put the young kid over, just made your champion look strong. So I thought that was a good segue to all of that. Number 2, Okada versus Ospreay. And the number 1, Shingo versus Mox. I don't think Mox gets enough credit for like his quality of matches, of how ever since he's gotten AEW, like it's a fucking night and day difference when it comes to his quality of matches.
Always brings it, especially in New Japan. He just steps it up even further. And Safet, you are right. We talked all about Monday Night Raw and forgot nearly probably the best part of the damn show, which was Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley's excellent promo. Becky Lynch, man, I think that when she has a purpose, I don't think there's anyone better at the money promo, at the building stuff,
I agree.
building the money matchup. She built this match. She made Rhea Ripley feel like an even bigger star and bigger main eventer. She made herself feel like that. She made Royal Rumble, the women's Royal Rumble, feel like a bigger matchup. This was a home run segment, and this camera shot was excellent as well.
Yeah, that's why I kind of felt like that's why I said, I think Becky's winning. Just because, like, she made that feel more important. Like, right now, to me, I was like, if you're going to go for a money match, that felt important at the moment.
Yeah, true story. We got Nikki Boy, who says, best Becky promo I've seen in so long. Mommy versus the Man, says Eric Isaac. Yeah, if Rollins is out, that's your Mania main event. Sorry, Punk.
I would say
Punk and Drew, maybe Punk and Cody is the only matchup for Punk outside of Rollins that you can bump Becky and Rhea. And Rhea, that promo segment made them feel like the biggest women's matchup WWE could ever produce.
Yeah, and then also I think it becomes the main event if the story, if that build up means something, because like the reason why Sasha and Bianca, they got that moment because they built around like the first 2 Black women, the main event of WrestleMania, and it meant something. So this one, they will need like a prominent story for it to like mean something to be the main event. But I do agree, like if it's Cody versus Punk, that has to be the main event. Because we all know Rock is coming and he's gonna take the L, and then Reigns is still gonna continue his historic streak.
Yeah, it's going to year 5. Josh, thank you so much for filling in this week. Mr. Clutch, the 6th man, the real starter of the Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Let the people know where they can follow you on social media and when they'll see you next time.
You can follow me, JMPunk321, Twitter and Instagram. And every Wednesday, well, almost every Wednesday, when Chris is not playing basketball, he being trash and ball. You can follow me, Elite Heat, every Wednesday night. If I could find in a fill-in, if he can't make it, and I could find in a second person, then we'll definitely do it this coming week.
There you go. Be on the lookout for that. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Tru Heel Heat. Patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month. The Prediction Championship. You get plenty of exclusive content. We got a new edition of Hardcore Rewind going to drop on the Patreon this week. We got Review of Honor you can check out right now. Get your merchandise, ProWrestlingTees.com, ForYourWear.com, and check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like AE Ramble, episode 129, Hook Hinders Joe, or our NJPW, New Beginning in Nagoya preview from yesterday, as well with J News and Sanal talking all about Kazuchika Okada leaving New Japan Pro Wrestling. We want to thank Kenny McIntosh of Inside the Ropes, Scott E. Wrestling of Fightful, and of course, Josh, and all of you who always support us in the live chat. You guys were great on this edition. So we will see you next Saturday. As always, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, Nikki Boy. Thank you, Josh. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom, SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 260. Make it rain. We are signing off until next time. Later, y'all.